Sage from Rated M for Immaturity there. How's it going there, Sage?
Doing pretty good,
Um,
man. How about yourself?
Doing good, man. Got some good stuff to review today. I've been doing a good batch of reviews these past few days, coming into the end time here. Doing a lot of best of lists, worst of lists, getting that compiled, getting that together. I'll be doing a worst of Wednesday. Neil and also Nick will be joining me Wednesday. They'll be giving their best of and worst of there as well Wednesday. So I got that. No stream planned this Friday, but when we return next Friday, hopefully Dusk and Neil will be able to join me, and we'll be doing Primate, doing that horror movie there. Doing that. Also, Greenland 2 with that movie with Gerard Butler. He's back again, that natural disaster
Oh,
movie.
I see. Okay.
Then also 28 years later, The Bone Temple, the movie directed by Nia DaCosta. The second movie in the 28 years later separate trilogy that they're doing with that. So that's up there. So
I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on that. I haven't seen it myself yet either, but I'm just like morbidly curious about what that movie even looks like.
yeah, people have seen it way early. I know people have seen it way early, and they seem to like it. I know you weren't too big of a fan of 28 Years Later.
I was riding with it until the last 5 minutes, and then I just walked out of the theater as confused as I've ever been walking out of a movie.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean the ending, I can say, yeah, you're gonna take it or leave it. Some people left it right back in the theater, didn't keep it with them. And it was like, yeah, that's enough for me. But we'll see what they do in the sequel here, with the Bone Temple. But yeah, so that's coming up, and then I'll try to go see a movie called The Plague. It's a smaller movie. I'll see if I can go see that. Also, there's a comedy movie out with Bradley Cooper called "Is This Thing Still On?" That he directed it, and then you have Will Arnett who's starring in it. Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, I haven't seen Will Arnett in a minute. Last time I've seen him in a movie, he was the voice of Batman.
I was about to say that's the last time I could think of him doing anything.
Yeah, good old voice of Batman. So, yeah, doing that, and that's what we got for next Friday. So we're doing a show then. Hopefully you can join me again. If we got something on the docket for next Monday there. Got some good options. We could do there. Do Street Fighter, we could do that. Could do Mortal Kombat. Those movies are coming out
Yeah.
both. So do those reviews, retro reviews for Mortal Kombat 1995, and do Mortal Kombat, and then also do Street Fighter. Either one, let me know, and we could do that next Monday.
Could double up and just do fighting game episode.
Fighting game episode, be good there, and have those in the can and release those when those movies come out. Very good there. But Sage, let people know about you. What you got going on? What you got coming up next? All that good stuff.
Yeah, you can find me over at Rated M for Immaturity on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all under that exact same name. We stream every Tuesday about 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time to about 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right now we're working on Doom: The Dark Ages. Long break. We did several of the games in between. We're back at it, picking it up, finishing that, and then we're going to be doing that Indiana Jones DLC next. That review went up for, I think, already. But yeah, and then Saturdays we've been getting back up here. We're doing more Warhammer Space Marine. There's been a bunch of stuff that's been dropped. We have a third person who's picked up the games. Now we got a full team running through a bunch of that stuff again, playing the new content. That's a lot of fun. But then you can also buy my book over on Amazon, digital, physical. Just to keep it simple, for anyone that's ever been disappointed in like Jurassic World or just how dinosaurs are used in movies, this is made for you.
Very awesome. That's your book. That's your Twitch channel, and this is your YouTube. So if people don't catch your streams, usually Tuesdays, Saturdays, they can come here and check out all the VODs here, which you upload on YouTube afterwards. And all of these different type of games here, fighting games. Here we're just talking about fighting games. Got that in here, playing that Marvel Token Fighting Souls there. Got Metal Gear Solid. You got action games, stealth games, adventure games there, turn-based games there. Getting into this, playing this Claire Expedition 33 there. A lot of people getting into this game there. A lot of people going like, is it really worth the hype? Is it really the best game of 2025?
Its sales figures doubled in the week after it won all the awards.
Yeah. So, and I've joined myself. I've joined part of the cult. So I am playing it right now. I'm only just past the tutorial, really. But I Corey Coleman from Double Toasted, he was struggling with the tutorial. He couldn't get past the little girl there. But he was losing the fight to her. So but yeah, but people who say they don't even like turn-based combat, they was like, okay, but this is different. This is much, much better than your
It's
normal.
because it imbues these real-time elements into the combat. So like the parrying system is very much based off of like and kind of inspired by like Sekiro and kind of some of the Souls stuff. And so you have that real-time dodging and parrying. So like because like a lot of turn-based games, you do your turn and then you wait for the enemy to do theirs, and then you just kind of have to wait for it to come back to you. But here, there's this active element. No matter what, you're always need to be paying attention, no matter whether it's your turn or not. I think that is a big part of what's kind of keeping people glued to that combat.
Nice there. So I got to get back in it before I forget how to actually play the game. Sometimes I play the game.
I'll tell you, you know what's just the main story. I don't think you'd really have too much trouble, but there is some like side bosses and optional stuff in that game that is like brutal when it comes to having that stuff memorized and having your timing done.
Nice. So yeah. But people can check you out there. I'll make sure to put your links in the description below. Upload the video there. Today on today's docket, I'm gonna be doing it. Welcome to Dare, doing a spoiler talk for that. That season 1 just ended there. We'll also be doing Pluribus. Season 1 of that show also ended. We were talking about that. We did early reviews of that when the season first started. If people want to check that out, they can do so. YouTube.com, the afternoon tune. Also, you're going to give your review of the Assassin's Creed Shadows DLC. You're up for that.
Yep.
Dispatch, spoiler talk. If you want to do some spoiler talk, Dispatch, got that up there. And then also Jujutsu Kaisen Execution. I've been meaning to do my review of it. I know it's pretty late, but I'll do a quick review of it from what I remember of it. It's been a minute. So do a review of that. The season's already started anyway. Jujutsu Kaisen.
I think we got 3 days until the first episode.
3 days? Okay. So still, yeah. So it hasn't officially started yet. But then there's that. So yeah. Then afterwards, of course, I'll go ahead and rate somebody. Good people on right now. Dante's on. He's playing the first Berserker, Kaisen. He's playing that. I have not heard of that.
It's came out earlier in 2025. It's sort of a very much like that Souls type of RPG. That hard bosses, feeding back through itself environment, level design. I played the demo for it, and I actually enjoyed it. I just haven't gotten around to going back and playing the full thing, but it's something we might review at some point.
Okay. Very nice. I don't know. It's a woman talking to a wolf or something like that. I don't know.
No idea.
I don't know if that's like something he designed himself or it's just in the game. I don't know. But yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, so he's on there right now. Let's see who else is on right now. Some good people. And if you had any suggestions, let me know. I'll go ahead and give them a rate. You were playing Hades. I see a person on right now playing Aaron Gray. They're playing Hades 2.
There you
go.
Waiting for 2 to come to the PlayStation 5 before I get it.
Okay. Don't want to play it on your old Switch.
I mean, the game is simple enough in terms of its style and kind of how it's set up that it probably runs okay on the Switch. I just would rather have just the better performance, I guess, really. And it's probably not going to take that long. And I also have epilogue stuff in the first one that I played and beat the game like 5 years ago, but the first one, but I still have like epilogue stuff that I need to go back and do. So I'm working on trying to 100% that before the second one comes to PS5.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I just recently bought some new Joy-Cons for the Switch there. I don't know. Yeah, man, pretty expensive. Almost $100 for new Joy-Cons there.
Yeah, controllers are wild now. I mean, I remember those things were like $30, 30, 40 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, but they got those. Yeah, almost $100 there. Well, because it had stick drift. My old ones had stick drift, so I had to get a new one there.
I haven't had that too much with my my Switch controllers, but I have had a few PS5 controllers get it.
Okay. Yeah, like I told you, yeah, my PS5 controller got it and
Yeah.
just had got it and it was new, so yeah, I had to end up getting a new one, but yeah, so I know it's a way to fix it. You gotta like take it apart. I don't want to do all that. Get all the tools and do all that. It's just a lot of work. Do look at a lot of YouTube tutorials. I don't know. That's a lot of work there.
You got to be able to like solder like things on and off the circuit board, and reassemble it, and yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. But yeah, go ahead, rate somebody after this. Yeah, no news out really. I don't know if you had any news. I didn't really say anything really out of there.
I haven't really seen anything. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the constant like little leaky faucet of doomsday stuff that I don't even care about in the first place, frankly. But there's always something coming out for that.
Yeah. Well, you should be excited, man. Chainsaw Man, they're doing a collab with Fortnite, man. You should be excited about that.
Fortnite's not my bag, man. Just not my bag.
Fortnite, like your dad, huh? Always adding something to it. Yeah, just can't even call it what it is. Superman's, it's just Superman. But yeah,
I have a friend whose dad did think Captain America was Super America, like the gas station.
Super America. I actually haven't heard. That's a gas station, what, Minnesota or something?
Yeah, it's like I don't know if it goes outside of us, but yeah, it's at least around here.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one before. Yeah. Okay. Super America. Okay. Captain America on steroids. Super America.
Literally, when that first movie came out, he like leaned over and whispered to him when he came out of the pod, and he was like, "Is that supposed to be Super America?"
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, no real news there. That's it. There's the Avengers Doomsday stuff that's always leaking. I don't know why it's always leaking, but it's leaking, man.
And I think they're doing it on purpose because this is that's one of the only ways they're gonna really drum up a lot of discussion and attention on the film itself. And like, sure, nostalgia is a powerful thing, and I think that'll probably get some people, but I think the mainstream audience mostly doesn't care unless there's constantly like a breaking news, this thing leaks every day.
People seem to like the X-Men stuff. That nostalgia got them. People love the X-Men stuff. Yeah, it's because we haven't. I guess we haven't seen that recently. I guess a little bit.
I mean, yes and no. I only say no because not everybody's into animation, but I think we got better X-Men stuff than we've ever gotten from the live action franchise in just in the last year, yeah, or 2 years ago now, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that. And season 2 is supposed to be season 2 this year.
I think so.
Okay, yeah, I think it's coming out this year. So, people want to check it out. I did an interview with one of the writers of the show, which is up on the channel. People want to check that out. The rep from Disney, they had to be right on the call. That's the first time that's ever happened. Usually,
oh really?
Yeah, yeah, they had to be right on the call there with them. I guess I don't know what they were afraid of, but yeah, they had to be right there.
This guy's a rebel. He might ask dangerous questions.
Yeah. So when I uploaded the video, I had to tell somebody that, hey, could you like add something to block them out? Because then it was like this random just black space there that nobody's doing anything. But yeah,
I wonder if they thought like, oh, we haven't done an interview with this guy before. Like, what if the first question out of his mouth is, so whose dick was that guy grabbing at the office?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, yeah, what was going on behind the scenes there? Like maybe they thought I was maybe going to ask something about that. But Roger Oda there was the guy's name. And yeah, he's worked on some other shows too that's been like Symbiotic Titan there. He's done Motor City as well there. But it's cool talking with him. And yeah, this was the person over there in the right there corner I had to put up there. But yeah. So they did that. So they had a long history in animation, everything like that. So that was interesting to learn from him. And also, he's part of the Animation Guild, which is like the union for a lot of those animators. So it was interesting to talk to him about that. That was pretty awesome. So good talk there, good conversation with him there. Yeah. All right. Let's get into some of these reviews here. Right. Did you have a preference what you want to start with first?
Yeah, dealer's choice.
Okay, I'll go ahead and get with it. Welcome to Derry. Let's get that off the board there. And I went back. I wanted more Pennywise. Went back and watched it chapter one and chapter
Mm.
two. I was still thirsting for some more Pennywise, man.
Did
Love to
you
see him.
rewatch the '90s miniseries?
Actually, I wanted actually that's on HBO Max. I didn't know it was on HBO Max, so since it is, I'll go check that out too. Actually,
Could be a fun
so
retro thing if we.
um, yeah, because I have not seen it before.
Oh, really?
No, I have
It's
not.
it's interesting. Tim Curry is great as Pennywise, but it's also a very different. It's a very different take on it. Like it is much more of a like, oh, this looks like it might genuinely just be a clown at first glance. Like it is not like obviously demonic. You know, in every scene, it has those moments, and it'll shift and transform a little bit and get creepier depending on the scene. But there are moments where it's like yeah, like it's like it could just be kind of a clown. Um,
Hmm.
and I personally, one of the reasons I prefer the Bill Skarsgård version so much is I think to me Pennywise, I feel like is so like gluttonous that I prefer the sort of take that it can't quite completely put that part of itself away. Like it can't quite fake it entirely. And so there's always something inhuman and off about it, even when it's like at its most, you know, pretend or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, like the moment is like in chapter 2 where that little girl is under the bleachers and then he like spaces out, like he just looks, he's like, "Oh, geez." He starts drooling, like, damn.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, here it just kind of looks like, yeah, it could be just like a regular clown, whatever there. But it helps now that in modern age you can do special effects and all
Yeah.
that, which really adds to it and everything like that.
Because the
Um,
book is super very very in depth about this is like an eldritch god cosmic creature, and it turns into all these things, and it's oh, it's true form, or is these crazy lights in another universe that like eat your soul and keep it forever. So like that's all in the book very very definably, and then that adaptation, it does its best, but like you said, special effects just weren't quite able to get. And it was a TV movie too; it was not a theatrically released film.
yeah. I wonder how do they do that effect of like when he does the open his mouth and you see the three lights
Uh,
on it.
in that version, his
Yeah.
eyes just kind of light up a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Cause yeah, that one that's a cool thing too. When he does it in the movie, he does the open his mouth and it's the three kind of lights. Yeah, like that kind of looks. They call it. I forgot what the name of it is.
So that's so the deadlights
Dead lights. Yeah.
are what like its real form is. Like in it's a place called the Macroverse in the Stephen King kind of cosmology, and it's literally like the way it's described is like this endless infinite sort of like it's like orange lights but also like sort of wormy snaky sort of a like circular sort of like aspect to it. It's described in sort of a almost impossible to visualize way because you see it, you go insane, very Lovecraft, sort of eldritch nightmare type stuff. But that's like its true form, like what it really is. And then everything that you're always seeing in any adaptation is like an avatar that thing has sent or has like dropped into our reality.
Mm, gotcha. Yeah, but it's good. It's good effect that they do that with. And I wonder how they do the effect because at the end in chapter 2, he's like the giant spider thing and he's running
Mhm.
around. And I wonder how they do that.
In the '90s one, it actually it turns into a full. It's like the whole body. It turns into like a full spider, and it's sort of it looks like Jason and the Argonauts or Clash of the Titans, almost like that. Ray, what was his name? Harryhausen, something that
Ray
did like the
Harryhausen. Yeah.
Ray Harryhausen, yeah, that did like the sort of claymation. It has that vibe to it, or like Phil Tippett's like puppet work in like the original Star Wars movies.
Mm, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, but I'll check it out though since it is on Max. All right, let's get into this. So, our first review of the day is going to be for the series It Welcome to Derry. It Welcome to Derry there is a prequel series. It's a prequel series focusing on the movies of It, not really the book of It there. This is more focused on the history and kind of lore of It chapter 1 and chapter 2 there. It's still Oh yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think you'd be surprised how much, and not all. They're definitely doing some original stuff here, but I think you would also be surprised at how much of the circumstances of this actually are talked about in the book.
Yeah, there are some things they incorporate in the book, like there's the Black Spot, massacre there that they do have that was referenced in the book that they do bring to life here. It's more fleshed out here in the show. So they do, yeah, like I said, bring certain elements there of King and also the King universe there. They also incorporate this into the show. And it seems to be part of a grander plan for, I guess, a larger king verse, I guess, that they're doing maybe in the future. And then, like I say, expanding more roles. Like, for example, Dick Halloran in this, who was referenced in the book, but didn't have that big of a role in the It novel there, to my
Yeah,
understanding.
it's just said that he was at this event, but you don't really get like a ton of context. All you get in the book is that this was, the end of this particular feeding cycle. There is always some sort of mass death and tragedy. And actually, in the opening credits, you see the other ones, the one from the 1930s and the one from 1908. They're all visually depicted in like the opening credits sequence for the show,
Yeah.
which we'll get into that more later. But you get a whole bit about like there being like an air force base in the town, and you get like kind of a body count of how many people died during this time, and some of people's whose parents would have been kids at this. So that stuff's kind of all there, but then this show is bridging it with all this extra context and actual like more in-depth kind of character stuff.
Yes. And you bringing that up, so it focuses on the character. You have Pennywise there, who is the villain there, who we saw in the It films there, who is the main antagonist of this It franchise there, and you do have Bill Skarsgård, who is returning as Pennywise character there. So that was pretty great. People heard that. Bill Skarsgård is also an executive producer on this as well. Um, and the person who's bringing this show to life on HBO Max, you have Andy Muschietti, who did the movies It Chapter 1 and 2, along with his sister, Barbara Muschetti. Um, so you have Pennywise who feeds in cycles. Every 27 years, he returns there to feed on the town of Derry, Maine. That they're the citizens there, infect the citizens with fear, with paranoia, anger there. He usually eats the children there, loves the taste of the children there of the town. And then the setup of this is you have a young couple there with their son who traveled to Derry, Maine there, who this is played by Taylor Page. You have people might know Taylor Page. She's been in such things as Toxic Avenger. She was in Zola there. She's been in some other stuff there as well. She was in the Beverly Hills Cop movie as well. The XOF, she was the daughter. Then you also have Jovan Adepo there, who's the husband there as well. He's been in some other things there as well. He was in something like, I think he was in Mother was the movie he was in with Jennifer Lawrence. If people seen that, the Darren Aronofsky film there. I believe wasn't he? I want to say wasn't he in that Nazi movie?
Oh, the one that was like almost repurposed into a Cloverfield film, and then it like got changed again before it came out. Was it Overlord or something like
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
Overlord. Yeah, he was in that as well there. People also know he was the son of Denzel Washington in Fences. He was getting yelled at all the time in
Mm.
Fences there as a young man. So yeah, he's a United States Air Force major there. So he's moving there to town for his new assignment. Oh
And
yeah.
you've seen those characters previously to the show because they're the grandparents of Mike in the actual movie.
Yes, they are. Yeah, you do see them there briefly in the movies it there with that. And they have a son, yeah, Mike as well, who we see in it chapter. So there's some characters who you see younger versions of there. For example, we have Richie's mom, who we see, who's also in this as a young girl.
Did you clock that before they like said that was the case? Like, did you kind
No.
of catch the? Because it was like the episode or two before the last one. I was like, I started noticing the glasses, especially. I was like, that just seems maybe weirdly like similar, and that it ended up being,
Yeah. I didn't know because I didn't remember the mom's name from It Chapter, and I didn't really remember Richie's last name from It Chapter 1. So I didn't really remember there.
I do greatly enjoy the idea that Pennywise has this feud with a 12-year-old before he's even born, though.
Yeah, he's holding on to a grudge, and yeah, we're gonna get into that, like how his powers kind of work here, and how that's kind of perceived in the show. But yeah, you have this family who's moving into town there, and him being part of the this military base there in Derry, Maine. He starts to notice that there's a secret project going on that they're working on, and what is that? And that has to what it has to do with Pennywise, and what it has to do with this town, and what is the ultimate goal. And you have the head of the army base here, who's the colonel, who's played by James Remar. You have him in this. So yeah, it's about all these things. It's time for him to feed. You have the military for their own needs of what they want from Pennywise. Also, you have a new losers club that we have here that are trying to investigate the deaths of all these different of their classmates, their friends that have happened. That nobody, of course, nobody's gonna believe them that they're seeing these demons and flying bats and all this other type of stuff. So they have to do the work themselves to uncover what's really going on. So that's kind of the setup you have there of this Welcome to Derry show. And it's just funny that this show is out right now. People have been talking about that. That you also have this, and then you have a show that was heavily inspired by the work of Stephen King in Stranger Things. And this final season happened there, and both appeared in the same year.
And the first season of Stranger Things back at the beginning was 2016. Am I remembering that right?
Yes.
And then the first of It movie with Bill Skarsgård came out in like April of the very following year, like
Yeah,
just
2017.
yeah. So that's kind of interesting that came out so close to the start of the show, and then this has come out right at the end of the show.
And one of the kids from Stranger Things was in it.
That's true.
Yeah, you have Finn Wolfhard that was in it. Yeah, I was like, well, you already got the look. Let's just drag you in here. You got the glasses and everything now.
I'll
I
say,
mean,
even at the time of that first movie, I did, after watching Stranger Things, and I liked the first season, I really did. But even then, going into it, I was like, okay, but this is obviously like a better version of the same thing, right? Like, I walked out of that movie saying that like right away.
So, what are your thoughts, man? Welcome to Derry.
Well, we talked about those first two episodes already a little while back, and I'd say that I think the show kept up all the positivity that I had from that, rolling through pretty much the whole show. I do think that I'll bring up negatives first because I don't have that many of them. One thing is I do think sometimes, and I don't know if it's Andy Muschietti specifically or like what special effects department. I think sometimes it looks great, and then that's true. But then sometimes I think in particular, I want to say it's episode 4. I think this was there's a scene where they're riding their bikes through a cemetery and there's ghosts that it is kind of making them see and shape shifting into. And I did think that some of the background like green screening and stuff and that scene in particular just didn't look all that great. So there's sometimes like a little bit of a back and forth with the special effects. I think most of the time they look pretty good, and I think especially in the second half of the season they're pretty polished. But just a few times in the first half there was some CG that was like a little I don't know. Some of these things don't totally look real or blend in properly. And then because again it's a small thing relative to the whole of the show, but I do think that the military stuff is kind of the odd man out as far as like a story arc or a plot thread that can, I think, especially as you get to the end, feel a little goofy and like a little incongruous with the rest of the show. That being said, though, I think everything else here is I think working pretty good. I think the cast of child actors here are really solid, which is not necessarily easy to make happen. I think that the way that it actually is shown and functions within the series feels like the closest to the book I think the character or the creature ever has, just in terms of sheer kind of power and just how much it's able to manipulate the reality of everything going on around it. Like that to me To me, this season feels like we've really kind of brought the idea of this to life best that any time it's happened so far.
Mm. It's interesting with this show, and I was thinking, it's 8 episodes, and we don't get Pennywise right away. We get him I think he makes his first appearance, what, in episode
It's like episode 4 or 5.
yeah,
I want
towards,
to
like,
say,
the middle way of the season, we
yeah.
get, Pennywise. So they don't just they wait their time to kinda tease it out so before we fully actually see him there, which I did like that they did do that, and I think he's more threatening and imposing here than even in, I think, the movies of it, chapter 1, and seeing kind of like all the people that he kinda takes out here. And then also they do some episodes where they do a backstory, like how he became Pennywise and stuff we got hinted at, a little look at in the movie
And I
of
think
like
we'll get more of that in future seasons too.
Yeah, because like you said, the intro of the show, which people seem to really love the intro of the song. I saw people really, I don't know, TikTok and remixing it and dancing to it. People really like the
You
intro
get the
to the
trap
show.
remix of it, like
Yeah, people doing the same thing with even the movie. I remember with like "You'll Float Too," like people
oh
remix.
yeah, huh,
Yeah, so
I do
people, I
remember
don't
that.
know, something about that, I guess. But yeah, so
Pennywise up in the club, man.
yeah, I mean, he's got the dance. He's got his own move. The jerky or whatever the hell you call that shit.
Might have to
Um,
change the name, but
Yeah. But yeah, so he's doing that, and yeah, so he comes along and they tease it out. And I think he's more kind of imposing and scary here. And I think a lot of stuff that they do with him, and like I said, exploring him, the lore of him more. And like you said in the intro of it, they've already confirmed this already. We're gonna get prequel shows to this prequel where it's going to be set basically in another feeding cycle of
yep.
his. And you see like in the intro you see animation of like the robbery there.
Yeah,
There's a
that's 1935, I believe, is the it's the Bradley Gang massacre, and then
yeah.
1908 is the Ironworks explosion, which is the same year um, that it took the Pennywise identity from Bob Gray and stuff. So that third season will kind of be right in that same time. So I bet we'll see more even of those sort of flashback characters.
Yes, yeah, so maybe we'll see that there. And then even the one of the characters' mother, it's the character's name, I think her name is Lily, right? She was the one with the mental health issues, and then her
Yeah.
mother was the one that was there at the Bradley Gang massacre,
Yes.
which they cut from the show, but
Mhm.
they did release that online. There's like a little like a behind the scenes thing of them filming that of her talking to her mother, and then yeah, she was actually there. So there's some characters also from this show that connects to the past as well. Um, yeah, but, so you got that kinda going on. Also, we have a new cast of, like I said, a losers club here. I already mentioned Lily, who's a girl that's struggling with her father. Her father, recently passed away. He died in a factory accident there. He worked at a pickle factory, which Pennywise loves to remind her of there.
Yes, he does.
Um, he's got that. Then you also have Marge there, who eventually will grow up to be the, mother of Richie there, who's one of the part of the Losers Club in the films there. So she has a rift going on with Lily because what happened, and she got put into a psych ward, so that makes her kind of an outcast. And then she's trying to hang out with the popular girls, so there's a little bit of that rift going on there. Then you have a Rich in this show, who I guess because was so inspired by him and loved him, she named her son after him. But you do have a Rich Santos in this, who shows up, and then he was cool. I liked him quite a bit in it there.
I liked him quite a bit, but I did also at one point I had to laugh just a little bit to myself of a kid that young having like such a just I know exactly what to do in this extremely chaotic situation, and my nerves are like steel, and I'm like ready to, there was like a preparedness that I was like that great character, but I did think like it seems maybe a little unrealistic of a kid that young to be like this on top of what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, he's a cool kid. He knows how to play drums. You know what I mean? He's playing
Sure.
drums in a juke joint. Like man, he's got all the skill, all the talent. There's him, and then also you have Will. there who will eventually grow up to be the father of Mike, or
Yeah.
the father of Mike. Yeah.
Yeah,
From
and
the
I mean, if you know the It Chapter 1 and kind of Mike's story and that and how he's living with his grandparents, it sucks because that kid is very likable in this show, but the whole time you're like, I know what happens to you.
Yeah, that's a sad thing, yeah, and, especially what he survives in this. So, yeah, he's Will in this, and then you also have, Ronnie in this as well there, who, she's a girl that her father's in trouble that he's been accused of, he's been basically they're blaming him for all the murders that Pennywise has been doing, so he's getting railroaded, and, they're trying to put him in Shawshank, which also is another King reference there, Shawshank Prison there. You got that going on. So each of them has their own kind of reasoning for teaming up together to find out kind of what's going on and what's kind of happening here. How did you like this Losers Club compared to the one that we saw in the movie, how they're portrayed? And did you see how do you think if you did think so, make them distinct in any way from the ones that we see in the movie?
Yeah, no, I mean, I do like them. I think what makes them distinct compared to the group in the films is that these characters are a lot less organized, a lot less like cohesively together and on the same page about what to do. Because in in the actual like main It story, the kids in that, I forget there's a term for it, that I think comes from the Dark Tower books, but there's a term for like a group of people that like collectively together like have a sort of like kind of have like a group version of The Shining, and
Mm,
that the kids in that original story, they kind of have that, and that's sort of part of what's protecting them a little bit from Pennywise and why he's so unable to really kind of deal with them. And that I think speaks to what you said about how you feel like this greater sense of kind of imposing danger coming from Pennywise here, and it's because Pennywise in this show generally, and the one exception is sort of a, I think that's sort of like a roundabout way of him having like a loss, because from the perspective of the 27-year feeding cycle that is described, this is a story about Pennywise winning and completing his feeding cycle and kind of getting everything it wants. So there's a lot more of a, oh, these kids actually could really kind of be on the chopping block at any moment.
mm. Well, the first group of kids were. You had the first group of Loser Club that we had. You think, oh, okay, this is the kids that we're going to be following. Then in the first episode, that gets done away with really quickly, which surprised a lot of people that they did that.
And that was a great hook. I think that was a great hook, because I think that's totally the expectation, right? Is that, oh, here's your group for the season. I don't know, maybe you'll lose one or two at the most. But especially being so close to Stranger Things, which I have not watched for in a long time, but I have certainly heard people talk about how sort of there's a sort of reluctance to kill characters off, and that the cast maybe got a little too big at a certain point. Here, immediately that concern is thrown out the window.
Mm, yeah. Like you said, like Neil said, welcome to his ultimate fuck them kids show there. And it's a
Absolutely.
great scene in a movie theater and everything like that that really works quite well. Um, and the show balances really well, I think, between doing the adult storylines, doing the kid storylines. I think they do a good job at that. Um, I think that, yeah, the military stuff. I mean, once James Remar like lays out his plan of like why he's doing what he's
It's like,
doing.
I want to make Pennywise the president of the United States, and I'll stop at nothing to get him the vote.
I mean, it's his kind of reasoning. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So it's like his reasoning seems to be like there's chaos in the world and disorder, and he wants to release Pennywise because he can cure all that. He can get rid of all, I guess, the bad people who have a lot of fear. I think is kind of the general gist
It's
of.
it's weird. This is to me the weakest part of the show, because I was just laughing at some of the stuff that his character was doing in the last two episodes. That felt ridiculous. But like, so in the town of Derry, there's this sort of like disaffected sort of kind of brain fog that the people in the town will have to what's going on, right? Both in terms of like more real world human on human violence, and then also to like what the creature's doing and how people, whether people can like perceive it or not. And if they can, right, it can kind of hide itself and make people forget and not really be aware of what's going on. And I believe that the solution that he's trying to have is if Pennywise can cover the entire United States, then everyone will sort of turn a blind eye and like sort of have a facade of normalcy, right, that covers
Mm,
up this darker undercurrent of violence that is, but that would still be happening. It would just be that people were sort of
mm,
brain fogged into not noticing it, which is what's happening in the town. And here's where that gets a little weird, because most of what the show does, totally in line with the book and the mythology of it and how the supernatural actually works and stuff. Um, Big thing that the show totally makes up though, is that so there's a group of like a tribe of Native Americans, and they're in the films, right? They bring them up. They call them the children of Maturian, which is referencing the turtle god that is in the book that
hello?
is yet to make its way in any adaptation.
Uh,
Oh,
hello there, Sage?
can you hear me?
Ah, shit. I think I
Oh,
ooh, hold on.
uh-oh.
Oh, you're back?
Good. I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, you're good. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Sorry about
No,
that.
you're
Go
good.
ahead.
So that there's this Native American tribe that is both in the film, right, and in the book. They're called the Children of Pretorin. That's a reference to the turtle god that has yet to make its way into any adaptation. I think they're afraid of what normies and casual audiences might think of that. Um, but in the show, they give this whole thing of, they have this like barrier, this magic barrier made up of these rocks is basically space debris from the meteor that it originally crashed to Earth to, and they've got them all around the perimeter of like the town, trapping it into this area. That is not a thing from the books at all. It could leave the town Derry anytime it wants to in the book. It's just far too fat and satisfied and content with its feeding ground to ever care about leaving. It
Mm,
has no ambition to go anywhere or to do anything other than what it's doing. There's other types of creatures similar to Pennywise, like the King Crimson and the Dark Tower, or the Crimson King. And there's even another creature in another book that feeds on like laughter instead of fear. That's like a whole other story that also seems to be a very similar type of being. But yeah, so the idea in the show that like not only does this guy want Pennywise to be like in like official political office, but he also is like, we have to break this barrier to make this happen. And I'm like, just going by like the understanding of what it is, it wouldn't leave if it could. It doesn't want to like go on mass destruction. It doesn't want to go anywhere other than here. It loves Derry. It is very happy where it is.
mm, yeah. Okay, so that's something okay, they added for the show, okay. And you do see, like you said, this Native American, people there who have bestowed upon themselves to be keepers of this, these kind of rocks there because it's the only thing that can deter it there. They kinda use it to ward off it, and like you said, they kinda create this, blockade for him so he can't leave anywhere. I don't and that's not mentioned, I don't think, in the movies at all or anything like that. That's
No, no, because they definitely came up with that whole thing for the show. And
okay.
and technically, if we want to go by the logic of how it came to exist within the broader mythology, that rock is cosmic turtle vomit. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, interesting. And then you see the effects of this because it's something that wants to go home. It wants to go back to where it is, and then one of the characters has it, and it's basically like Gollum with the ring. Like it kind of warps your mind and all this other stuff. You see Lily, the character, she holds a, and it kind of plays with her thoughts and makes people think that she's coming after her there and everything like that. How did you like that in the show? I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought that psychological manipulation was great. There's less of that in, say, like the movie than I think there is in the book, but this show really drew that element of the book out to the forefront. Like I
Mm,
said, in a way that I don't think has been done before. Um, Yeah, you get bits and pieces of it, but and again, I think that's also just the nature of what that base story is too. Is just those kids are they're kind of destined to sort of have victory over Pennywise in a way that because this is a prequel that necessitates Pennywise, and they because they do this sort of extra thing with the barrier breaking, right, and then he comes back out after the feeding cycle is over for like an extra finale sort of thing. But like for all intents and purposes, this is a story about Pennywise winning and like accomplishing its feeding cycle.
Mm, yeah. So I thought that was really good that they added that kind of wrinkle to it of how it kind of yeah, like it plays with kind of people there. And they even have a moment, kind of like in Lord of the Rings where, I mean, well, in Lord of the Rings, I mean, you have Sam. I mean, he doesn't put the ring on, but he does carry him. And here they actually take the rock from her and go like, okay, we'll pass it around so we can distribute it, so we can do that. And then, we'll talk about the final scene what they do that with. The To go back to the military stuff there, that plot, I was kind of just mainly interested in it for Dick Halloran and just to
Yeah,
see kind of more him. I think he's the kind of key to it because he's their like big weapon against it and finding out because he has people they find out he has these ESP psychic abilities there and we see him use it. And we see him in his mind prism, as they call it, or whatever, there, and him having these kind of psychic battles with it. And the actor who plays Dick Halloran in this is an actor named Chris Chalk there. People might have seen him. He was in your favorite show. He was in Gotham. He was Lucius Fox in that.
he was.
Um, he was there. He was also in the Newsroom. He was also in Perry Mason, the new edition of Perry
Mm.
Mason, not the older. I mean, he'd be a lot older there. But he was in that as well. Yeah, but he's been some things here and there. And I've seen him, and he's really great here. I love him. There's and he's not the Dick Halloran that you've seen from like The Shining, because the Dick Halloran in The Shining is more friendlier, more a little bit more happier, I guess, in a sense there.
He's learned how to deal with his issues.
Yeah, here he's still pretty troubled and everything like that. But yeah, how did you like his character in
Oh, I really liked him. I thought he was one of the best parts of the show, and I thought it was a nice touch. There's a scene where the military is needs him to interrogate someone and kind of go into their mind, and I really liked that they gave the Dick Halloran character even a slight somewhat maybe kind of sinister side in that moment, like where he's invading someone's mind and like causing this massive amount of pain to pull information out of them. And sort of the way that the kind of the presentation of that scene, I thought I was like, oh, that's cool that he's got this like dark side to him that maybe I think we've never seen before. I really really liked that, and he's what yeah him. And then I mean I liked the parents like as parents and how they interacted with the kids as well. And so I liked that part of like the military part of the story being present within the series overall. I'd say that really where the military stuff kind of fell apart for me was just specifically James Remar and his motivation for what he's doing. And in a large sense, I think the military stuff in here it feels like a giant riff on Project Arrowhead, which is the military experiment that rips open a dimensional tear and causes the story in the book The Mist to happen.
Okay, and timeline wise, when does that happen and where in
Uh, God, I think The Mist happens. Well, the movie made it present day, but the book happens, I think, when it was written. So, like 78, 79, I want to say.
okay, and when was it? It was written in the 80s, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, and it was written in the 80s, and so the like Losers Club, I believe, takes place. The adult portion takes place in the 80s, and when they're kids is in the 50s. So the movie adaptation that this show is then connecting to is the timeline's all off because in the movies the kid portion was the 80s and then the adult portion was present day. So these adaptations are definitely timeline wise very different, but you know.
okay, so we're gonna get another It reboot. So and then the kids, the preview is gonna be them in like the early 2000s, and then it's gonna be them in like the 2040s. Is gonna be the present day.
It's
Uh,
like Superman or comic book adaptations where like they've always kind of got to move a certain part of it to take place today.
yeah, like Punisher used to fight in the Vietnam War, but now he has to fight in the Iraq War. He was an
Yep.
Iraq War veteran. Yeah, yeah. So you got that element there. I like that, and that's the interrogation scene you mentioned was really good because he left the guy like kind of slobbering all over himself, and how far and deep he kind of went into his mind there with that. And there's a point where, he squares off against it. I think that's the episode where they go into like the tunnels, right? They go into the sewers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he does that, and then it releases the box and releases all the stuff that he had put away there, and it's left him kind of a mess.
And if you
And
know sort of the greater backstory from like the books and stuff of the Dick Halloran character, and like what is what that significance of his grandfather appearing in that vision is, that's dark. That's some dark stuff.
okay, interesting. Yeah, because it seemed like, I didn't know if that was Pennywise creating this more horrific version, or that was actually more really his childhood or anything
It's a
like that.
combination of the two. Like that, like the grandfather speaking to him in the scene we saw absolutely is Pennywise having shapeshifted into something Dick is afraid of. Like that absolutely is Pennywise in that moment. But opening that box, because and they that's actually something they show in Doctor Sleep. They show Dick teaching Danny how to sort of have this mental box and to sort of lock away certain fears, right? So they can't kind of, and spirits, so they can't interfere in his like everyday life as much. But I'll just say that like Dick was like very uh very abused by his grandfather in both physical and sexual ways, and that his grandmother was kind of the person that tried to stand up for him, and then of course was also physically abused. And so that flashback is pulling on a lot of like very dark corners of his childhood.
Interesting. Okay, interesting there. And like I said, we're gonna get more with, obviously, the prequels have announced there. Does this show supposed to connect with Mike Flanagan's doing, or no, that's some
No, because that's all going to be on Amazon.
okay, got
So
you. Okay.
they can't make any official like crossover, although there's allusions to it to the wider universe. I mean, obviously Dick Halloran being a character, that's a big thing, but the way that barrier is like the alignment of it and kind of like what it looks like from like a bird's eye view map, it's very much meant to sort of represent the structure of the Dark Tower,
Mm,
and kind of how that works. Because in part of the thing with the Dark Tower is there's like 12 guardians that hold up the beams of the tower, and the turtle god Maturin that vomited up the universe that it takes place in, and then also is essentially the creator of the it being unintentionally as well. Um, Maturin is one of those guardians, and then in the show, when they do dig up that piece of the barrier from the ground, it's like inside of a turtle shell. So it's very much this kind of visual allusion to how the Dark Tower works. But I don't think they could actually talk about the Dark Tower directly in the show.
okay. So the beams there, so are they separate universe, or is it just one universe?
Uh, no, so the Dark Tower is literally the beams of the Dark Tower literally hold up the multiverse. And
Okay,
the
the
and
multi.
the
Okay.
Dark Tower takes place in a world called Midworld, sort of a Midgard, like Norse mythology reference. And you can physically go to this Dark Tower in this place, and it is this weird fantasy world. And then you can use the Dark Tower to step in and out of various realities, which is what Randall Flagg, the villain in The Stand, is doing. But it very much, which is closer to our world, right, that it is taking place in, and that The Shining takes place in, and Carrie takes place in, and all these stories. That specific universe is a universe that was created by the turtle, and like the turtle literally vomited up this reality,
Okay.
and that's where all that happens. And but it is just one of many universes that is connected to the Dark Tower.
Okay. Didn't an animated show do that where like a turtle did that or did vomit up or
Well, the idea of like a world turtle and like that, like the turtle being sort of this great cosmic being is like ancient Chinese mythology has that idea. I don't know if that's like the very first version of it, or if maybe some other even older mythologies might have that, but it goes back like a very long time just in
Mm,
general in like mythology and history to this idea. So I don't know necessarily what Stephen King was looking at when he was like, oh, I'm going to do a version of this, but it's definitely been around.
Okay. I was just thinking in my mind if I've seen that in a cartoon before, of a turtle doing that, like spitting up a universe or something. I was
I
thinking,
feel like you probably have, but I'd be surprised if that hasn't popped up anywhere else.
yeah. So yeah, a lot of lore to explore with here, and interesting. We talked about the kids, so I don't know if they're gonna do like how much can we see like another group of plucky young kids, try to take down Pennywise. Are we gonna see
Yep.
that in the version from 1935 and the version from like 1908? Are we gonna have another kind of version of that? That'd be
I think
interesting.
you have to have a group of kids in some capacity, just because I don't know. I mean, I know it maybe is sticking to a formula, but I also just think, like, as an example, you take it chapter one, it chapter two. When you move to like purely a story about adults dealing with this creature, it it inherently becomes less interesting if that is the totality of it. Uh, and I think this show did a good job of like having like some stuff with adults and some stuff with kids. So I think we'll see a mix of it. But I think like say season three at least, because they have said it's going to be just the three seasons. Like they've got a very specific 1, 2, 3 plan, and that'd be it. But season three, I think you might really get into like the Bob Gray figure and stuff, which we got teased with here a bit. But that's a big part of the books that I think season three may revolve almost wholly around.
Okay, interesting. Um, And I wonder in all the different ways he can play this character Pennywise to make him more intimidating. Like you say, if we do see more seasons there of it. This was, I thought, a really strong show. Thought it was really good. I thought it paid off in far as the horror elements of it. Even from the first episode, like the scene in the car is
Mm-hmm.
like really
It
well
pretty much
done.
opens with it.
Yeah, I thought that that was really well done and what they do with that. I thought the performances across the board are really good there. And they're not doing a thing where they're going to do 5 seasons with these kids, so they don't have to see them get older and maybe turn into
Right.
bad actors. And we got them good. They casted well, and sometimes that can be maybe a hit or miss sometimes with kid actors. And I
And
think
they
they
look like kids the whole time too. You won't have to be like, yeah, you're 25.
Yeah, they do. They got actual kids for this, which kind of works there, and they have to do a lot of good emotional heavy lifting in this show throughout it there, and I think they do that a really great job at it. Everybody across the board there, and it's almost like they almost upshine. I think a lot of the adult actors in this as well. Um, and the main adult actors that you really follow, I think Taylor Page and Chris Chalk really do a great job here adult wise, because the three that you really follow mainly is Chris Chalk, Taylor Page, and Javon Adepo. There are really the main adults that you follow. Um, I think all that works really, really well in this.
Did you catch that just because they showed it there, the racist cop that's going after Ronnie's dad, that's the grandfather of the bully in it.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
grandfather, and so his son is like the shitty abusive dad to the bully in the first movie.
Ah, interesting. I did not catch that. Okay, very good there. And also for people who are big things and people, that's also a thing. I'm glad you brought that up of Easter eggs. That's always a big thing and stuff now. Like how many Easter eggs can we fit into the show and references and everything. And I think this is one of the example that does it correctly. Of like you just pointed out, it's not something super in your face there. It's just something
Yeah,
that's part of the story. And it works naturally with the story there of it, just how Dick Halloran has worked naturally into the story. Um, he has a more expanded role on here, but he fits given what he's there. It's not just like, oh, hey, it's Dick Halloran and he's from The Shining. Let's just bring him in here just because he's from The Shining. It's like he actually has a good role to purpose to serve here in that. And
yeah, it's
yeah.
just a great example of like if Easter eggs are your concern and you're just putting them in there, willy nilly, just so you can get people to kind of notice them and be nostalgic about something, you're doing it wrong. Like you need to have a good story, and then pepper some connections through based on whether it makes sense for them to be there or not. But yeah, I mean, a lot of entertainment today, let's Avengers, are so consumed with just making references so people will remember the thing they're referencing. But I don't think this does that at all. I think all these pieces feel, they feel like they're there for a reason. And the only thing that doesn't quite click, which is James Remar's character, that's not an Easter egg or a reference to anything. He's just an insane person with no reason for what he's doing.
Yeah, and they do even do kind of, I guess, make him a little bit try to make him sympathetic, or they give a backstory to him, and
I liked that earlier on in those earlier episodes that I thought like, oh, maybe he will have more of a character. And then as it went on, I was like, oh no, that was just to trick me. That he didn't have shit going on. This guy's just insane.
yeah, to show that he had like an earlier encounter with it,
Yeah.
there, and he
Yeah, he
actually
saw that and he was like, that thing should run for office. It'd be great.
yeah, I guess he's a fan, man. He's like, "Oh, man, this guy, he knows what he's doing."
I just
Uh,
that was a that's a it's a really silly moment. Like I really don't think I can impress just how silly it comes across because there's a moment in the action of things where Dick Haller he's using his shining power to sort of temporarily distract Pennywise, and it's one of the greatest like reaction gifs I think of all time is Pennywise waking up, at the time of Bob Gray and like looking around, not knowing, that's a really great little moment. But then, well, Pennywise in the real world is like frozen, stuck in that delusion for temporarily, and James Remar sees Pennywise stuck and runs out. And he's like, "Oh my god, are you okay? Trust me, we'll get whoever did this to you, man. Like you're gonna get out of here. It's gonna be like it's just very weird." And I again really like the show overall, but that stuck out to me as just being like kind of bizarre the way that all played out.
yeah, he's got some good reaction. Like you mentioned that one where Dick Halloran's in his mind there. That's a good reveal. Like when he finds out it is Dick, that's a good reveal there. Tricky, Dickie says there.
Yeah. And then
Um,
also, one thing we haven't mentioned as much is, I've mentioned Bob Gray, but the Bob Gray's daughter, right, of the real Pennywise, who is another character in the show, which I think is done interestingly. I guess I want to see more of her, and I think we'll get more of her in future seasons. But yeah, that's an amazing look. Uh, but she has an interesting role here too, where she sort of seems to believe that something is possessing her father rather than like stole his appearance entirely. It seems to think that like there's like a demon in him, but like there's still him in there somewhere, and that she can kind of connect to that. And so of course Pennywise uses that and manipulates that to kind of get her to bring him food, right? But there's a scene near the end where she like even hugs him, and Pennywise is like, kind of, I'll play along for now because you bring me food. But when she can't see Pennywise's face and he is giving her a hug, you just see him make this like the idea of the feeling of love is like going to make him throw up. Like he literally
hmm.
finds that vile, like that the other emotions like that or positive emotions physically are it make it ill.
Was that the scene where they do the flashback? Was in the black and white, where it's like,
No, I'm talking about the scene at the end of episode 7 after the black spot stuff happens.
oh, that's okay when that happens there, because I
Because he
remember.
hugs her and he's just like
Because I remember what sticks out in my memory about that one with her and him, because like you said, I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, that's thank you for transitioning to that. Of how like she, is the daughter there, and that's the same woman from It Chapter 2, right?
Yes, which book readers after that movie came out were like, "Oh yeah, I think this was supposed to be Bob Gray's daughter." But if you were just watching the movies, the whole backstory of Bob Gray and that had never been adapted before. So I think general audiences just thought it was a creepy old lady and like didn't really have any meaning to it. But there even in the movie at the time, there was some intention there of it being that character.
Okay. Yeah, and what sticks out is like when she's, you know what I mean? He's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to sleep now. I've done my thing. I'm gonna go hibernate and do that thing." And she grabs him, and then the look he gives when she grabs him, and then he turns around.
Bitch, did
Um,
you just touch me?
yeah, I mean, it's a that's a good look there. But yeah, I mean, you just see that. I mean, I don't know why she would still think it's her. I mean, she just saw him just eat a bunch of people, and she ate a little. I
Right.
don't know. I
I
mean,
mean, I can kind of get where she thinks it's like a demon is possessing my father, but there's enough in him that recognizes me, so I'll like placate its behavior because I'm hoping it'll give him back. I think that's the idea.
yeah,
Like she
and
recognizes there's another entity at play but she thinks it's like this mixture rather than just being this other thing.
Mm. And episode 7, heartbreaking episode, probably
Yeah.
one of my favorite episodes of, the season there besides the, final episode. What would you say is your favorite episode of this?
I think the second to last is probably the best. I think the filmmaking during the black spot, and I think if you watch it on HBO, they have like a special feature too, where they go into some of the how they filmed it and how they made a bunch of it like this one continuous take, and how they actually had to like.
Or they didn't have to do it for 12 hours and do all them different things?
No, it sounds like it went a lot faster than that actually.
Okay. Yeah.
But they did have. I mean, they had something like 40 actors actually were setting fires, and they were doing it in one take. So like they're like watching them the behind the scenes for that was really interesting because they. I mean I think is on a technical level the most impressive piece of filmmaking maybe in the entire show. Just how much like had to happen logistically for that to work, and then also kind of interesting that it would come out in the same year as Sinners.
Mm, yeah, that works really well. A lot of what they did. Yeah, that was a horrific scene, but also the way it was shot and everything like that was also really amazing with that there. But again, referenced in, like I said, more context in the book there because I didn't know where that was leading to at first. And then when they actually do the full like name of it, the juke joint, I was like, oh, this is what it's going to turn into. And that because I didn't remember it from that section of it from the book there. Um, yeah, this is a wonderful show. Then I don't want to pit, you know, it and Stranger Things against each other, and some people going like,
Because Stranger Things wouldn't have a chance.
yeah. I mean, I do think this is better than season 5 of, what Stranger Things was, and I think it has a better conclusion there for what this is and the story. And that moment, like I said, very horrific moment in episode 7, and then Richie makes a heroic sacrifice and lets her, keep her spot in like this cooler there so she can be protected from the fire. Marge
I did
and
question that was like a metal box. I did question a little bit if you would not just kind of cook
mm,
someone by putting them in a metal box. So it's a small thing. It doesn't really get in the way of enjoying like the storytelling going on. But I did stop and think like that looks like a metal box. I don't think
mm,
that would work.
yeah. Like she would just kind of melt inside, or like the metal would melt,
Yeah,
or
it's
yeah.
a little bit Indiana Jones surviving a nuclear blast by getting in a fridge. So
Mm.
this is a tiny bit of that.
Yeah. Do you think that this is better than the movies? You think?
I think it's by far better than the second film. Um, I think the first one is quite good. I think this might have a little bit of an edge over the first film, just because I think because of its like more intense horror presentation that I just think it's able to go farther. It's able to kill more people on screen. It's able to just be a little more dangerous feeling. I think the show has that edge. Um, I still think that chapter one film is a very tight, just individual standalone movie. But this does do a lot to rival it.
Okay. Yeah. What will be your final thoughts? Rating it. Welcome to Dairy.
Yeah, man, I really enjoyed this. I got the just every week it was something to really look forward to for a bit there. I would give it I give it a low peak, like kind of bordering on like just like a high tune in low peak. I think it's really great. The only thing that pulls it down from maybe just a full normal peak is I think some of the military stuff feels very goofy by
Right.
the end, and their sort of logic of the barrier thing and like how that doesn't totally match up with me knowing that creature to not want to leave in the first place or care about leaving. So to have sort of a climax that revolves around, well, obviously, if we break this thing trapping it here, it's going to immediately want to leave. That feels a little disconnected from what I know this creature to be and its behavior to be. But again, I think those are relatively minor complaints in the bigger picture here. I think 85% of this show works fantastic.
Mm. Yeah. The only real issue I have with the show is not really so much the barrier stuff, but like I mean, it's kind of like you bring up Stranger Things and like they have a whole military thing with the town's under military occupation.
Yeah.
And they do a thing where it's like, well, the town just kind of the military just packed up and left. After that, all that happened, they just they just kind of
Right.
left. And it's kind of here, the military, they do the same thing. They just kind of like, oh, well, they just kind of left town, you know? And I'm like, and Giovanni Depo's character, it's kind of like, well, I had to, they just discharged me because, you know, they're like, okay, keep my mouth shut and they'll just discharge me and get out and fine. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like they just probably have you killed, but,
Right.
you know, and probably just kill your family. But
I think it would have worked better if maybe they had just even just one scene of maybe Dick is the one to tell him, but like it's like, hey man, turns out James Remar, that dude was a lunatic, and all of his superiors did not know what he was doing. So like we're getting medals for getting that guy out of here, something
mm,
like that. I don't know, just something to be like, also for the show to internally acknowledge how ridiculous James Remar's character really was too, because I feel like yeah, the characters are like, oh, that's a bad thing to want to do, but I don't think anybody quite has the reaction that I had, where I'm just like, what are you talking about? This doesn't even make sense. Like your idea is gibberish.
yeah. Eventually, Javon Dippo's. I mean, he caught on eventually. It took him a little minute. He
It
caught
did.
on there. There and yeah, I mean, I like the conflict with him and his wife because his wife is an activist there, so she's part
Right.
of, you know, she said she's worked with other activists there and does a lot of that stuff that layer. So that conflicts with him, and you know, he's trying to just keep this military life and everything like that. So I liked a lot of the back and forth that they had with that. Um, but yeah, I greatly enjoy this. I do think it is better than the movies, you know, but not by much. I think the movies are very strong. It chapter one and it chapter two. But like I said, more of the episodes, I think Pennywise is scarier here. I think the group of kids, you get to see more of them and how more of them are terrified of this creature there. And they're also dealing with a lot of this, you know, personal turmoil there. Maybe a little bit more than what the kids were dealing with in the It chapter one there. Cause I mean, you do have the Lily character, you know, her mental instability. You know, you do have Ronnie and her father there, and of course, you do have Will and what he's kind of dealing with in this town as well. They're both of them racially there, so there's also that element there with that. Um, so yeah, you do have that, and that, you know, like I said, really dramatic sacrifice there that Rich makes there, which is also very emotional. And seeing kind of at the end where you kind of place the pieces on the board or where character's going to be. Because I think with the Ronnie character, I was looking at something. They said her character's supposed to, or her or another character supposed to connect to somewhere else or something.
They
Um,
might. There's so many Stephen King books. It's possible that there's like another bridge somewhere that I'm not remembering, but that one at least is not one that I picked up on necessarily.
Yeah, because the Mike's family, Will's family, they stay there, of course, because he has to stay there in order to get married and have Mike and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
One
Uh,
thing too, I wonder, how did you buy their sort of them changing their mind and staying? What did you think of how they sort of presented that? Did it seem organic to you?
um, I didn't think so. I thought they'd be like, "Come on, let's get the fuck out of here." I mean, you know, that's nice. I mean, because like I said, the woman, I forgot the character's name, the Native American woman.
Rose,
But
I think.
Rose was okay.
Yeah.
Rose, who I think I've seen that actress before. I've seen her in some other things. Um, But yeah, she's kinda like because of the feeding cycle, you know, Pennywise, he's gonna return and somebody needs to be here to, you know, warn other people and to do that thing. So people being there, does that really do, I mean, who do stay in the town, do they do warn other people or they do try to prevent it? Because well, we do see in chapter 2 that Mike, he does stay there and he does call the other losers to come back so they
Yeah.
can fight it again. So I guess it does happen there.
I
Um,
think that it depends on the person. The minds of the kids, like Mike in the original It story, they, because there's a somewhat of a like shining effect on them. I think they're more impervious to the brain fog that Pennywise can kind of put on people. But generally, I think even if you stay in the town, because they make a thing of like if you leave, you forget what happened. But I think if you stay there, Pennywise is sort of like kind of area of effect, sort of forgetfulness. I think that at least my understanding is that applies to people and can, probably is the reason why those characters as the grandparents in the story still are not as aware of things as they necessarily should be, you know?
Okay, interesting. But yeah, and yeah, seeing where it's kind of things gonna be there. But yeah, I'd give this a strong peak for me there for this. I really love this a lot there. And I was good also. It seemed like it was a good water cooler show, releasing every week. A lot of people
Yeah.
talking about it online, a lot of people going like, "Oh, did you see what happened in this episode? And this happened in this episode?" You know, so I don't know how well it did. Have you seen how well it did ratings wise? The numbers there? I
I
haven't
know
seen
that
them.
its premiere had, I think, broke a record or two, but I don't know about the whole show.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know ratings wise how it did there. But I think it was when I would looked on HBO Max, when I would go click on the show, it was like top 10 of like things on there, I think. So yeah. So a low peak from you, strong peak from me, for it. Welcome to Dare. And I just cut off that it was in the trailer that there's some, like I said, really good horror mode. Like that scene with Ronnie and the mother, and like that's a
Mm,
really great scene. And most
yeah,
of it was practical, yeah.
and I mean, I would honestly recommend watching all of the episodes behind the scenes featurette type stuff that they have at the end on the HBO service. Really cool stuff. But like you're actually seeing like the big puppet and everything that the like puppet body they build onto the mother to like make her bigger, and it really good stuff. Like really cool. If you're just like into effects work or like learning about that stuff at all, there's some very cool stuff to see in there.
Yeah. The only thing I'm seeing here is like It Welcome There episode 7 hit 5.8 million viewers across HBO and HBO Max in the first 3 days of availability.
That seems
Um,
really high for horror to me, because horror's
uh,
inevitably got like that's a smaller total audience, right? That you can count to show up for it. So that seems pretty big.
it says according to Warner Brothers Discovery, It Welcome to There ranks among the three biggest series debuts ever on HBO Max, coming behind
There you go.
video game adaptation Last of Us and Game of Thrones spinoff series House of the Dragon.
Hmm.
Okay.
All
So,
right.
yeah. So, that was our review for It Welcome to Derry. Streaming on HBO Max. Soon it's gonna be Netflix, but HBO Max right now. There.
Coming up.
All right.
Netflix Max.
Netflix Max. Netflix. Aflac. There. All right. We're gonna do Pluribus. I'll cue that up. All right. Is it Welcome to one of your favorite shows of 2025?
Yeah, I'd say it's up there. I'd say it's up there. Do you know? I know what the number one is though. What I genuinely think is the best written show of this year,
Okay.
and it's
Uh,
not it or Pluribus. Actually, it's not either of
okay.
them.
Yeah, it's common side effect.
It is Common Side Effects.
Yeah. All right, let's get into this. So our next review of the day is going to be for the show Pluribus. Pluribus is the new show from Vince Gilligan. Vince Gilligan, who is the creative mind behind Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. This is his new series, which is on Apple TV. This is starring Rhea Shoehorn.
Is that how
Rhea
you pronounce it? Because
Seehorn.
oh, okay. I'm
Okay.
always wondering, and I've never been sure. So
Yeah. I'll play when she got her award win and see how they do it and see how they pronounce her name there. Because she did win an award for this. She won at the Critics' Choice Awards there for Best Lead Actress there. But yeah, Rhea Seehorn, who she was one of the leads in Better Call Saul there. And Vince Gilligan loves working with her. He loves working with her. Really thinks she's incredibly talented, and I agree with that. Seeing her in both things, in this and Better Call Saul. What is this show about? Well, this show is set in the fictional town of Albuquerque, New Mexico. There, that's not a real place, of course. Vince Gilligan just created Albuquerque, New Mexico, but it is in Albuquerque there. And you have Rhea Seehorn, who stars as Carol there, who is an author. She writes fantasy romance novels.
and is
Um,
not happy about it.
not happy about it. She thinks it's junk there. She kind of hates her readers. Thinks it's just, brain rot, basically is useless. But yeah, so she's an author there, and all of a sudden one day the world, everybody gets transformed into this hive mind, a sort of type of alien virus of sorts comes to Earth there, spreads itself across all the billions of people, except for a select 13 people who haven't been converted at the beginning of the series that we see. And then it transforms people into this hive mind into kind of very agreeable, happy, accommodating people there who all work in unison to get jobs done. Whatever needs to be done, they can all work together. Everybody pitches in, does whatever. If
Like
there's
ants.
like ants, yeah, that's a kind of a good way. Like ants, they kind of all do it. And they call it the kind of the joining is kind of what the term is for that. And Carol, is obviously like, what about free will? Who nobody really asked for this. Yes, there may be not any war or violence or crime, anything like that, but it's free will is pretty much all but gone because everybody's all connected in unison there. So she's trying to figure out a way of how can this be reversed? How can this can people go back to the way they were? Like I said, along with the other survivors, we see them and she tries to make a plan with them, but a lot of them seem to kind of go like not really minded that much. You have the one guy who he's living his fantasy. He's James Bond, he's
Right.
the president, he's on Air Force One. He's like, I'm loving this. I mean, I get to do whatever I want. Very, very, everybody just kind of and they will give you anything you ask for from these people, they will give you. If you want the president's plane, they'll give you. If you want a grenade, they'll give you.
I saw Vince Gilligan said he had a hard time coming up with a name for the series, and based on all that stuff about how they work, they could have called it the Pushovers.
The pushover, oh yeah, like a companion,
the leftovers.
Yeah, companion to the leftovers. So yeah, anything you ask for, they will give it to you. Like I said, very accommodating people. Even a nuclear bomb, they'll give it to you. They'll hesitate about it a little bit, but they'll still be like, okay, sure, why not? We reviewed the first couple episodes of this, enjoyed it, interested to see where it was kind of going and what it was trying to say with this series there. Now that it's all done and wrapped up with, what are your thoughts, man? Pluribus.
I liked the show a lot. I think it's very fascinating. I think it's the kind of show that leads to, I think, very interesting conversations week to week about like, well, how does this work, or could they do this? And I definitely found myself and my cousin who I was watching it with each week, engaging in that sort of conversation where you're just like, yeah, like as far as the logistics of this, I think that's very interesting and very well done. And that's sort of that great sort of science fiction where, there is so much time actually elaborating on the process of how something works that it almost doesn't feel like science fiction because they feel like they're exploring the reality of it so much. And I think that's really wonderful about it. The real key and star though of the show is Rhea Seehorn though. I mean, it is, I think you could very easily strip the sci-fi stuff out of this and it is just this very, very well done character drama. The only thing I'll say, I do think, and not for myself so much, but I think I could see this being too slow for some people. Like I think fairly, I could see some people watching it and going like, all right, like great acting, but I wish more was happening. Like I could see people having that takeaway from it. Now I don't feel that way. I think the slow burn is awesome. I think, give it time to get where it's going. But especially like, if you're coming from the audience of Vince Gilligan's previous work too, I think those shows can be downright action packed and, very explosively exciting. And I think Breaking Bad is doing that very, very early within its first season. And so I do think, just as far as an audience thing goes, like if you are a fan of his other work and you're like, oh, I can't wait for another show in that vein, this isn't the same type of thing. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's Vince Gilligan stretching his legs creatively and doing something really different. I think that's great. But I definitely think, some people just might maybe have a patience limit at a certain point with the show that I could see.
Okay. Yeah, slow burn TV. This is weekly, so it didn't all get released at once, except for the first two episodes that get released together. I wouldn't say that this. We were just talking about it. Welcome to Derry and how that had the water cooler effect. I don't know. Maybe if you saw something different on your timeline, I don't think this had maybe a little of the same effect on a bigger scale as that because it is
I don't
more
think so.
accessible and people know Pennywise and it's horror and everything like that. So this was much more of a slower kind of burn there. I don't think it had kind of that same effect of people talking about it week to week. Like, oh, did you see what happened in this episode? Did you see what happened in this episode? Because a lot of the episodes just deal with Carol investigating the people, asking questions about them. And she has a companion in this show who I think one of the people, the other survivors, refer to her as her chauffeur, not a chauffeur, supervisor,
Chaperone.
chaperone. Yeah,
Yeah.
there it's like that's your chaperone. And it's Zoza there who's in it,
Mhm.
who is the person that they send to her. And there's a reason why they do that, because she looks a lot like the version of her character in the book. She has
Yep.
a male love interest in the book there that she writes that looks a lot like her. That's a female version of it, who she originally intended to be female at first. Um, so you have her who she goes to her, who she basically, ask a lot of questions like, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you not do this? And then she kind of learns and studies them in a way of like, can you lie? And she learns that these people, they can't really lie. And the way they kind of maybe get out of lying, or get out of not of having to not tell the truth, is kind of just not saying it or dancing around it.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way they kind of do that. And also kind of you learn about the way of their kind of species is that they won't harm anything, nothing, not even an ant, a fly, animals they won't kill at all. So that also brings up into a question, how do they eat and everything like that? Because they go so far as they won't even pluck an apple off of a tree. And they say, well, we'll eat it if it falls, but we won't pluck it off of a tree. So, and then they do the thing where it's the whole, they eat people, and how does
Very
that,
Soylent Green sort of situation.
and you get a good cameo from John Cena, him explaining it of how their whole kind of food process works there. And it's funny because Carol, she's doing like this big investigative work and doing looking through garbage and going, it's like, why are they drinking all these milk cartons? These milk cartons everywhere. And then she thinks she's like, oh, I got this big thing. I'm gonna bust it to all the other survivors. And then she busted to the one guy, and she's like, is it about the eating people thing? It's like, oh yeah, I already kind of know about that already. Yeah, it's a little disturbing a little bit, but yeah, I kind of got over it. It's like, yeah, okay, that's I mean, and they're not killing people, they're just feeding on the dead bodies of people that are already gone.
Right. I did
There.
notice in the it was this in the opening of the second episode when we first see the Joja for the first time. They're collecting bodies like off the street, right, and just to clean up after the kind of initial event. But they're loading all the bodies onto a milk truck at the beginning of episode two.
Mm, interesting. Okay. They're doing that. So they like condense all these people and have them, so they just mostly consume just the milk carton things
Yeah.
there with that, which is interesting. But they'll eat something if it's presented to them, if it's
Right.
like a steak or chicken or whatever, they'll do that. And that was kind of interesting. And you got to think like, because Vince Gilligan says he's mapping this out for potentially 4 or 5 seasons is what he sees
Somewhere
this
around there, yeah.
somewhere, which is about how long Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad was. So you got to think, if because now there's no more war, there's no more crime, and they have to constantly feed on these kind of bodies there, and there's less and less of the population that dies each day. How long can they keep it up with sustaining billions of the population? Like, how long can that really be sustainable? You got to kind of think about that. What did you think about a lot of that stuff about learning about these kind of aliens, I guess you could say, or whatever, the others, you guess?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that stuff's all really good. That's sort of the kind of the technical sci-fi part of what I was saying earlier. It's just it's explored really deeply, and so you get this very grounded sort of sense of it. And that's what makes me wonder if, like, I mean, this whole thing starts with it's a signal from deep space. They translate it into the chemical formula. Chemical formula is like psychic glue, binds them all together into this like hive mind. Which is where it's interesting because they're not exactly aliens, right? They are humans that have just been linked together, but that signal is certainly alien. And it as of right now, the show feels like, I would say, too grounded to ever have like an alien being or some, like another intelligent species show up and like, prosthetic costumes and stuff. It's hard for me to see that happening as of right now. But at the end of the season, they did kind of make mention of, oh, well, we'll build the signal and then shoot it out towards the next planet that's got most likely to have life on it. And I thought that was interesting because that did seem like, an implication of this thing being a greater structure. This is the psychic glue, binds them all together, makes them defenseless. and then they're gonna propagate it and send it out again to the next place. So that seemed to be carrying the implication of like, yeah, there's other species out there that are being affected by this, or at least engaged with it in some way, or going to. Um, but I think, yeah, I think that whole structure, I think that's great. I think there's a lot to theorize about. Now you're right; it didn't have the water cooler effect where people were like really talking about it. But I also would like to point out that neither did Breaking Bad until like late season 3, season 4. I didn't hear
Mm.
people talking about that show until it was a few seasons in. And now I think that show's very exciting from the get go, but word of mouth and time made it that big show. For the first little bit, it was a smaller drama that people were not like people who watched it were raving about it, but it was not this like big mainstream hit right away either, you know? And so
What
I
were
think
you I was gonna ask,
what's up?
what do you think was like the big catch moment for Breaking Bad that people were like, "Oh man, you gotta watch Breaking Bad," do you think?
I mean, I think I think the first season has those moments, honestly. I think to me it's when he throws the bag of thermite
Yeah,
across the
that's what I was
room
thinking.
and
Yeah.
blows out that apartment building. But I think I don't know if it was just people, it just took time for people to really get in on the show, but I think it's when the two brothers try and take the hit out on Hank in season 3 that I think maybe is what really started getting like the snowball was massive at that point, and then it really just started getting a lot of people's attention.
Yeah. And you mentioned that, and they Apple TV, I know people talk about how much they suck as far as advertising their shows. And I know they talk about like we're not really making a lot of money with these streaming service with Apple
They
TV.
can afford it though. I think it's like some of these streaming services, it's like, oh, how much money are they losing? Or that's probably catastrophic for them. But I think Apple and Amazon are the two that won't ever have to worry about being like folded into another streaming service. Because I think it's just a matter of like these companies are so huge with their other products that a streaming service is just like a fun little bonus on the side for them.
Yeah. They're slowing down my phone right now so they can make me get another phone so they can afford to keep making more
Right.
pluribus right there. So I know people, but Severance seems like it's kind of getting off. Like a lot of people talking about, I see a lot more people talking about Severance
Yeah.
and things like that. And I know
Yeah.
that other show, Seth Rogen. Oh no, that's HBO Max, isn't it? Yeah,
I don't even know.
yeah. I'm thinking about that Seth Rogen show. I think that's Apple. I think the studio. Yeah,
Gotcha.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, Apple. But yeah, a lot of people that got a bunch of awards. And a lot of people talking about that, and that was a big hit. But yeah, so maybe it'll take like maybe more of the season to really come off there.
And I
Um,
think this is just slow. I think it's a lot slower than Breaking Bad's first season. I think it's a lot slower than Severance's first season. It's a slow burn show. And even though I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's just another style of storytelling, and I don't think we get as many slow burn things these days, because I do think people's attention spans are shorter than they used to be. But I think that, yeah, I think it is going to wear some people's patience, like waiting for like the plot to kick in a little more, for some big thing to happen. um because even like you say, she discovers that they're eating the dead bodies, and that seems like kind of a big cliffhanger, her finding the bodies, and then in the next episode she's so revved up and ready to tell someone, and she gets there, and then it's like, oh, you already know and aren't even worried about it. There is And I think that works really well as clever character storytelling, because I think that's what it is. It's about the character and how the character is living in this situation, and that I think that's what the point is. But I do think a lot of people would be like, okay, so that didn't go anywhere either. Like I could see people having that reaction to moments like that.
yeah. And so, but I'm still interested in see, like always the issue with kind of one of these type of shows is just like Severance or something like that, or like Lost or something, like a sci-fi show that has like a mystery of like all these characters gonna be able to figure something out as you go on. Like, is it gonna be worth the ride to get there
Yeah.
to the finale in the end? It's gonna be a good payoff. Go like, oh, okay, this is what it all means, and this is what all it's happening there.
And I
Um,
was burned by Lost. I'll be the first person to tell you, man.
yeah, I never got into it. I know that was like a huge show that when it was early, like mid 2000s, like,
Yeah, 2003 or 4 or something like that started.
yeah.
And I mean, that was the first show to kind of Game of Thrones itself before Game of Thrones happened. I'd say
Yeah.
that was the first time that like a big event show did that at the end.
Mm, okay, so don't watch Lost. So it's not worth going to watch Lost?
I'm conflicted on it because I have that memory of being disappointed by its final season, especially. But I mean, I think there is a lot of very good character storytelling in that show earlier in the earlier seasons, like the first 3 seasons or so. And I think the problem with that show is that it's like if your show is all about the character and the plot and mystery is sort of secondary to the character, I think you can justify not having these big revelatory satisfying answers to the mystery if your story is always character first. You can
Mm,
leave things ambiguous or not really answer questions because that was never the core point of what you were doing, right? But as Lost went on, especially like past season 3, 4, or 5, because it had 6 total. So the whole second half of the show became more about the crazy plot and the twists and like what crazy things could happen than it was about the characters. And then at the end, they were like, "Well, it was really all about the characters." And I'm like, you just spent the last 3 seasons telling me the opposite." So I think that's what makes the difference is if it's about the characters first, you can get away with not being as clear about that stuff. But if it's about the plot, then you need to have those satisfying answers ready.
mhm, yeah. So I'll see. I'm still hooked. I can't wait for a season 2 at this show.
Yeah, it
Um,
is going to be a while.
yeah. So, what do you think about 2027, 2028?
Yeah, 2028.
Ooh, okay, okay. Gotta spend some more time in the kitchen there,
And
cooking.
I think that I mean, and I think I'm excited too. I genuinely very am looking forward to another season. I don't necessarily have the like, damn, I wish I could watch the next one right now feeling that I think like I did with when a season of Breaking Bad would end, and I'd be like, "Oh fuck, I gotta wait a year for more." Like, damn, I want it right now. I don't necessarily feel that. Like, I'll tune in as soon as it does come out, and I'm looking forward to it. But I don't have that like, ooh, I need to see it sort of energy. You know?
Yeah, I think it's best when you stack them up.
Yeah.
Kinda you can watch it. Yeah, I think it's kind of best there, which I did. I watched the 2 initial and then waited till it was done, and I watched it all in succession with each other. Yeah.
Do you think the slow pacing could bite them in the ass a little bit if people have to wait 4 years for another season, and then it's also very slow paced. Like good, but slow paced.
Well, I mean, with certain sci-fi shows, it's all about you gotta sometimes the first season is all about the setup of it
Sure.
and like the introducing the concept, and a lot of this was introducing the concept and the all the cans and cannots that these things can do and all that type of stuff and
Yeah.
kind of establishing the boundaries. So more with season 2, and especially where this leaves off, it's like, okay, are they gonna take a more offensive approach there to these kind of creatures? Because you see that Carol, like I said, she's very much on the offensive of these people, like trying to reverse things back. And there's even a point where she's, does some drastic measures to, Zosha to get her to, confess, like, what is the way to reverse this? Like, what is the way to, like, the answer to it. You just won't say it because you can't lie, but you do know the answer to it. And when that moment happens, they all move away from her. They all in unison just drift away, get away from the city of Albuquerque there. Um, when she does that, and that's an interesting moment because also with these kind of like we've seen them throughout the whole season so far at that to that point be so accommodating and happy and joyful, but then you saw them with that be very very kind of more distant, more kind of passive aggressive, like they wouldn't even kind of look at her or they wouldn't speak. They just kind of like, oh yeah, whatever, but before where they would just wave to her and everything like that. What do you think that signals there with these kind of people?
Well, I think it's. I mean, I think it's a big manipulation tactic. As kind of docile as they are, clearly they're trying to. They are being manipulative in the ways that they can be manipulative, right? It's really just a way to sort of starve her out in not in terms of food, but in terms of like affection and human contact. Like they're literally, I think, emotionally starving her out to get her to break and invite them back in or try and kind of make that connection, which is what happens. She does, right? She gives in, and then Oviedo shows up, and he's like, "Are you kidding me? I have like 6 holes in my back, and you're giving in to these things." And I think it's all. I mean, and again, I think there's genuineness in, because there has to be genuineness in the way they speak to her and show kindness some of the time. But I mean, I really am getting the feeling that it is about the manipulation of it. And I don't know if there's a sort of toxic X element there that maybe only I'm seeing, but like there's this facade of just showing like only this 100% pleasant version of yourself until they're caught in a not lie but omission of truth, and then have to give in. But there's almost a sort of like that perpetual like, well, I'm going to speak in a calm voice, which means I'm the reasonable one, and you're being big and emotional, which means I'm right, even if I'm being the one manipulating you. Like there's that element, I feel like,
Mm,
kind of all the time in the show.
that therapist speak, I guess.
It's like weaponized therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you do see that because so at first we have the 13 survivors there of the joining, and then immediately they're trying to figure out, okay, why did you not join? Why did these 13 people did not do it? And we're going to work on a kind of, I guess, like a cure to make you be able to do it. And at
Right.
first they're not able to crack it, and they kind of go like, oh, we don't know yet. But eventually they go like, okay, we actually found a way to do it, but we need your was it
Stem cells.
stem cells. We need your stem cells, but we can't get your stem cells unless we have your permission to get your stem cells. And
Yeah.
they still try to give you the like, okay, we still have a choice. Ultimately, we do want you to join us, but you still have the choice.
Right.
But they do a thing where because Carol, she was trying to have a baby, so she froze her eggs, and so they found those eggs that had the stem cells. And then so she's because her and Zosha, she forms a more romantic relationship with her, the more closer they are, this bond that they have. And they kind of have almost like this vacation. They do this getaway, they go to the Alps and all this other stuff. And she's sitting down having a conversation with her, and then you're going like, okay, so I thought the only way you could do that was having the stem cells. And it's like, but she figures out, oh, you have my eggs and all that. So it is a very manipulative way because she's already made it explicitly clear that I don't want to join. Like she's already
Yep.
kind of made that very clear there. But it is the ultimate goal of these creatures to go out. She even points to the galaxy and goes like, "Our goal is to everywhere in the universe spread this thing and to kind of give it to everyone there." That sounds kind of dirty. Give it to everyone. And do that. So that's kind of another sign of them kind of being very kind of manipulative in a sense there with that. Um, and then there's another human character. So some of the survivors, we don't really see a whole lot of them throughout most of the season, besides the one first episode where they all join together to
Yeah.
talk about what to do. You see it kind of after that, you see a few of them pop up again. The main one of the main ones you see, other than the other character I'm about to bring up, is the guy I mentioned. That character's name is Dobby, I think his name is
Mm.
Debatey.
And
Um,
he has some great, like he feels like when Saul got first introduced in Breaking Bad a little bit to
mm,
me, where the show always, I think, had like its bits of great comedy, but then to bring in a character that like every time he comes on screen there is some sort of great comedy to what's happening, that just kind of breaks up the pace of what the show's doing and how it's handling. So I think this is actually, I think, a really crucial character to making the show work, even though he's not in it that much, but just because it gives that sort of interruption in sort of the feel and vibe and style of the show. It really throws things into a different area every time he comes on.
yeah, and this is his James Bond. He's having a fantasy there. He's in Vegas and he's
Yeah.
doing that.
The guy
Um,
across the table from him in that scene also looks exactly like number two in Austin Powers. He's
Oh,
like
yeah, he does do he does look like Hawk. But I mean, that's kind of funny there. And like I said, these people, they have to do whatever you say, so they're all on it, and they all play the parts and everything like that. So they all do that. But there's another character that comes in, who they haven't made contact with any of the other survivors, and she hasn't made contact with him.
The most
It
stubborn man in the world.
the most stubborn, that's a good name. It's stubborn man in the world there. And he kind of comes in. He's even more extreme than we saw Carol at the beginning, because at least Carol will take things from them. She'll take like Gatorade, or she'll go like, okay, I'll let you do this for me or whatever. But he's strictly like, I will not accept any help from you at all whatsoever. Do not
they're
give me any.
putting like dinners by like the gate to his where he's living every day, and he goes in and like fucking kicks him off on the ground and walks away.
Yeah, I mean, they bring him food every day, and he will not eat that, and he's even to the point where he starts searching in, because he owns like a storage unit, there, and he broke into all the other his client storage places to look for some food because he ran out of food,
He's
and
eating
he got
cat food
resorted.
or dog food or
uh,
something.
yeah, it was dog food. He was like, "Fuck it," and, like, that's how stubborn he is. He's like, "Fuck that, I'm not eating it. I'll eat dog food before I take something from these people there." And so when he eventually he does get the message from Carol there, who she was sending out these tapes to everyone about explaining all the milk carton stuff I talked about earlier. So he travels, and he tries to travel all the way from, because he's in Paraguay. So he tries to travel all the way from Paraguay all the way to Albuquerque there, and he's car, foot, doing whatever he can. And eventually he ends up hurting himself, and they have to airlift him out of there and then put him in a hospital, and then that's when he can go to America there. But he even
And he's
holds one of the.
I was gonna say, even then, he's got holes in his back from like falling on like a poisonous plant. And then when he wakes up in the hospital, there are chunks. You can see chunks of his back missing. And as soon as he's conscious, he's like, I'm leaving. I'm not letting you give me medical attention. Go fuck yourselves. Like, I'm out of here. Like, just the second he's able to.
Yeah, and you see he's holding one of them at knife point and everything, and he says, you got to charge me, you got to bill me, because this costs money, so you got to bill me there."
Yeah,
Even though they're telling him like it doesn't cost any money, you know what I mean? He's like, no, it's got to cost money. And then he eventually makes his way to her,
the
and then they have.
brainwashing of capitalism.
And then he eventually makes his way to Carol, and they bump heads initially at first, because he has a much more extreme view. Now that Carol's kind of been more conditioned and around them and learned them, she's a little bit more
Yeah.
softer. What do you think about them and their meeting there?
I liked it a lot. I thought that was just the like because they're very alike, right? At least when she's being super stubborn and like won't give in at the beginning, and then yeah, she softens on him over time, and then this guy's just like will not give an inch. When at the beginning of the show, it seemed like, oh, she, of these people that are left that are still fully themselves, she's like, oh, she's the stubborn one. She's sticking out. Imagine if this guy had been at any of those meetings between everybody in the first couple episodes. Like she would have seemed very like in the middle and reasonable to everybody else there. I like that. I like that a lot, and I like that she basically felt like she just had to go back to him again at the end when once she realizes that they kind of found a way to lie to her.
Yeah. Eventually, yeah, she realizes that, because at first, she's kind of like, goes off with Zola, and kind of like I said, vacation thing. But once you kind of learns that thing of like, ultimately they are gonna make you join. Like they're
Yep.
gonna find some way to make you join. You don't really have too much of a choice there. You may think you do. Like I don't know how long the guy, Mr. Dabidi there, how long he can last. Because he says they got to extract it from his spine, I think, or something
Which
like that.
for Oviedo, they could have done that when he was unconscious in the hospital.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah, they could have done it with him. Yeah. So they are gonna probably there is gonna be a way to do that. And then one of the survivors, you see that eventually she does join it. The woman from I think she was from Peru. There.
I think Peru, and it's interesting to watch, because as that scene unfolds and they, they perform it, and it's, this leading up to her joining, everybody's dressed in the, clothes that you would dress if you're from that place, and they're singing in that language and they're performing it, like a ceremony from their culture. And then the second that she's joined, everybody just puts everything down They stop the song, they stop, like, everything stops, and they just kind of pack up and leave. And I think that was a really interesting moment because it felt like the show was saying these things, or this hive mind it's basically wearing it was wearing her culture like a mask to get her to do this, like it was pretending to be all these things still. And it's, I guess that's the question, right, is like how much of that stuff is still in there, and do they value things like individual cultures, or like of different groups of people, is like, does do they care at all? Because the way that they just stopped and like left kind of makes it seem like it was just a means to an end, like engaging in the idea of human culture itself. I think that was really fascinating.
Yeah, because like they're because it's only her that's not affected in this little village there.
Yeah.
So and everybody else is like you said, carrying on as usual, mainly for her because it's putting on because like when they don't participate in any culture or anything like that, you see that most of their daily lives consist of okay, they do work and then they all sleep together in like some big type of either stadium or something like that. They all sleep together. And so they don't really participate in any specific
And that
individuals.
might have even been for show for Carol. They might even sleep in an even more uncomfortable, like smashed into each other, like place, like when she's
Mm.
not there. That could even have been like the nice way of showing them being functional.
Yeah. She did have a funny joke there. Carol, when she was like when she first saw it, she was like, "Okay, is everybody gonna start having an orgy or something?" She was like, "Well," Zosha was like, "Well, I mean, if you want to, we can do that." And then she kind of, I thought, again, that goes to show like, are they kind of getting more human in a sense? Because at first she wouldn't have made that joke episode one, episode two.
Right.
It seems like okay, they're catching up on humor and playfulness and banter and everything like that. So that's interesting there. But yeah, so they're this woman and this girl in Peru who already said she wanted to join. So she was already in it already. She already said that because she wants to be with her
Yeah.
family. But that makes a good point about this culture. This they sing a song, they do the chant, they do all this. All that's now gone because
Yeah.
they just packed up and all left and they release the animals and everything like that. And so even though that everybody is connected and they all have knowledge of everything ever that has ever been existed on the world, the that act of participating in this culture and the people who actually do it is gone in a sense, even though that knowledge is there. Which
That might be a great metaphor for like sort of a homogenized internet culture that everyone shares and is like the same everywhere.
yeah. And like you said, I mean, what is the show about? What are the themes of this show? Maybe too early to say. You could say maybe there's an AI message here as well. With the
The
fact that
lack of ability to produce like an original idea or such, that kind of thing.
yeah, because these people they can't like write a show. They can't, create art and then they know of art and then can repeat art, but they can't create it on their
Yeah.
own. They can only base it on the memories of the existence of the people that they all are connected by.
He
Um,
also started writing. I mean, obviously, it's been a long time, and I'm sure it went through iterations and drafts. But he did start writing the idea of it. I think he said 8, 9 years ago, like almost a full decade. So I wonder if any of that AI stuff is intentional or if it's more coincidence, just because he started working on this so long ago.
yeah. So I thought, yeah, again, you got to really watch the show because, like, I mean, they also have kind of another capitalism, kind of like with Severance, kind of. I know you haven't seen Severance, right? Or have you started?
I watched the first season.
Okay, how similar do you? Because it feels like a little similar themes to Severance there in terms of that. How well do you think those
Uh,
shows like in themes there
I'd
play?
almost say they're opposite sides of a coin, because with Severance, it's like totally right. These like kind of just like horrors placed upon these people from capitalism, right? Like it is this like need or piece of a system that's been produced just out of that. Pluribus here, I'm almost seeing more of a critique going the other direction towards communism, because it's the collective that is inept. It's the collective that can't produce art. It's the everyone needs to be in this collective for things to work, but then your individuality. So I'd actually say this show's going the opposite direction. And it's,
Mm,
to me, it feels more like a criticism of communism than it does capitalism.
yeah, hyper collectivism there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so So you see that. So that's kind of interesting. Like I said, they're all putting on this kind of show for her, and yeah, culture that's kind of just gone now. All those cultures are just kind of erased there. Um, and then with the final episode, you see that after she has that conversation with Jojo and realizes that the ultimate goal is conversion. That's the ultimate goal for these people, and you cannot have your own kind of original kind of thing going on. Um, and she kinda leaves her. Do you think that I mean, I don't think she's gonna be out of the show, but do you think she'll ever try to have that relationship again with Jojo in a romantic sense, or no, it's you think it's gonna be super distant and everything like that? What do you think?
Mm. That's interesting. I think I don't, because I think that's one thing with the show in general is because there are so few like characters that are not part of the hive mind. It is a show that has to get by without a lot of back and forth character dynamics. Like it doesn't have as many of those to rely on as most other shows do. And so that's a very interesting challenge of like how do you keep a story interesting when you can't rely on that. And I think this does manage to. But I don't think that they can drop that dynamic with Joja entirely, just because it's one of the few dynamics that the show does have. So I think there has to be some way of kind of bringing them back into each other's spheres and having them interact more in the future. Now, perhaps Zoja is the first person that they unlink, that they find a way to do it, and they do unlink some people. Because it seemed like Oviedo was onto something with because he does get someone, and he is using radio signals, and I bet he's onto something, like even though he hasn't quite figured it out. I bet there's something there that he's on the right track of. So I think they're going to have to be in rooms together and have to have scenes together. I don't know what form it takes though. I really don't have a good guess.
Yeah, because yeah, he's playing with these radio signals, and he finds one particular signal that's able to like disrupt them and disrupt the hive mind. And he's like doing it. He's doing like a test experiment with one of them, and he's trying to like talk to him and go like, remember who you are. You know what I mean? Like Mufasa. He's like, remember who you are there, and then try to wake him up there. He doesn't do it, but you know what I mean. But Carol kind of stops him in the midst of it because it's disruptive. And then obviously when they do this, she did it at one time because when she gets angry, it reacts negatively to harsh emotions. So
Yeah.
it causes like them to seizure, which caused like millions of deaths and everything like that across the world. So I don't know if his thing caused also millions of deaths as
I'm sure
well.
it did. It did seem like it because Zoja stops and she goes, "I'm going to lay down. Something's about to happen." So there's a moment there where the hive mind had like a second to sort of prepare itself. So maybe maybe not as much death as the other times, because the other times Carol just screaming in its face, and then they just went down. So it had like a slight bit of time to sort of prepare itself and get ready.
Yeah, so maybe it's a little bit. People had time to like pull over the side of the road or whatever. But I don't
If
know.
there were any planes going though, that wouldn't have helped.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can put it on autopilot. You can do
That's true.
autopilot.
That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, and then but we have where she gets her atom bomb at
Him.
the end. They give it to her there. Do you think I mean, what do you think? I mean, that's not gonna come into play to the final season, or I mean, Chekhov's atom bomb? What you thinking? You gotta use it or
Man, it's hard to say. I mean, it's a I mean, it's certainly, I think, being taken as a deterrent, right? Is the strategy Carol's employing, is like, I'm going to have this here, and you don't come and try, and even if you've got the thing to turn us, you don't come close to us because I have this. Uh, but I mean, I do feel like it's gonna get used at some point. I mean, maybe it's not till the last season, in 2045 when we get the final set of episodes of the show. But I mean, I think it'll be used in some capacity, whether that is purely as a deterrent, which I think will be the immediate use, or yeah, getting used as an explosive. I mean, who knows? Like I said earlier, the show right now, it feels too grounded for like some Star Trek aliens and rubber masks to like come in as characters in the next season. But Vince Gilligan is such a great writer that I do think if he wants to have actual aliens show up in the show at some point, that he can create the groundwork between now and then to make it not feel like it's jumping the shark. I think he is a good enough writer that he could make that happen in a, 2 or 3 seasons down the road.
Okay, interesting. So, what will be your final thoughts rating for Pluribus?
Yeah, I give it I'd say just like a full regular peak. I think it's amazing character work, amazing acting. I think the filmmaking is consistently great. There is, he has just there's an eye that was in Breaking Bad for shot composition and stuff that just would be beyond normal television a lot of the time, and I think you're seeing that here. There's a lot of great filmmaking, especially anytime like the Hive is like accomplishing a task with a lot of people, right? Like, and just watching them work and the way that's filmed and the montage of that, really, really well done. Oviedo's journey from Paraguay to try and get to that's filmed really, really cool, and like seeing all the wilderness and stuff in that. It's this great like setting change for the show. Yeah, there's pretty much endless compliments here. I just only reason I guess I don't go higher is I want to know where it's going, and kind of ultimately is the journey leading to a satisfying destination, which I think I trust Vince Gilligan. I think it probably will. And then also just for the general audience out there, I just think there's a caveat of it is slow, and I think that might hold it back from being for everybody. I do think that might hamper some people's enjoyment because it is slow, and especially if you're expecting like a big, a big plot moment in the finale, you don't really get a lot of like big plot moments. It's really more circling back to where Carol was at the beginning of the season, really, than going to a new place. It's just the character reveal and the information that the characters. Again, it's all about the character. It's just, if you're going to be into the show, you've got to be sold on it being a character drama.
Yeah. Mike from Grey says, "Cool to see Vince return to sci-fi writing. He used to write for X Files. I didn't know that." Okay.
Yeah, yes, he did. Yes, yeah. That's I forget, but I looked at a list at one point of episodes he had like a big hand in, and there were some really great ones on there.
Okay. How'd you love his Hancock movie? He wrote that.
Less impressed by that. It's been a while. I saw that movie once at a drive-in, and it was paired with a couple other movies that I actually was there to see. But I remember it being a weird movie. Let's just say that.
Yeah, Big Willie style, man. Big Willie style. Big Willie.
He might have to fall back on a sequel to that now because he's having a hard time these days.
Yeah, I think they said they were doing a sequel, maybe to Hancock.
God, are they really? Anything gets a sequel. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think they said they were. Yeah, I mean, Vince Gilligan, I mean, he hasn't missed yet. I mean, he's concluded 2 really great series there in Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, and he landed those planes and he landed them really well. And I mean, so I trust him that he's going to be able to do it again this time. So it's an investment for sure to get into this. And like you said, is the payoff going to be worth it? Especially for a sci-fi show. The mystery of it, is she going to be able to reverse what's happening? Is she going to be taking control over, or just be a part of the hive mind? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, is it going to have a good satisfying conclusion with that? Speaking about X-Files, I mean, that didn't have that's had many kind of mediocre conclusions to it.
It's the mediocre conclusion that won't stop concluding.
Yeah. So that can always kind of be a mixed bag there. But yeah, Rhea Seehorn, amazing in this. She's fantastic. Really great. I see why she won the Critics' Choice award there. And
I can't
also
sing her praises enough.
Yeah, she's really truly amazing, and because she's really leading this. I mean, yes, there's other characters that kind of come in here, but this is really her thing and her vehicle, and she's really leading this show there. But everybody else also does a fantastic job. Zoja, the actress, Carolina Wadra, she does an amazing job. That actor who plays Oviedo does an amazing job. We talk about Mr. Dabidi. He does an amazing job, that actor. Everybody does a great across the board there and doing that. So yeah, I would also give it a good strong peak for me as well, for Pluribus there, for good old Pluribus. I mean, does any part of the world is kind of like, yeah, well, maybe this is kind of cool in a sense, this type of world there, you think?
Do you think there's a part of the world in the universe that likes the idea, or the part of the real world that wishes it was
Yeah,
like
like
that?
would you like? Do you like any part of this world that is in Pluribus there?
Oh, would I like to be in it? No.
Okay, I mean, even
No,
if
no,
you were a survivor, you want me?
no, I would not trust the hive mind, man. I'd be with. I mean, I do not have as much physical power to trek through multiple countries the way that guy did, but I would be as distrusting as he is.
Yeah, because he's all about he's like the phones. He's got an umbrella. You won't let it's like, oh, they're gonna look over, and they do. I mean, they do use like tracking him. They do use like satellites and drones and all that stuff. So they are doing that. So yeah. So two strong peaks for Pluribus there. We'll see you in 2035 for season two. There when they do that one. All right. Let's see. I'll do a quick review here of Jujutsu Kaisen Execution, and then we'll do Dispatch, and we'll do your last review of Assassin's Creed Shadows, and we'll head out of here. Um, and let me do this right here. So you didn't get a chance to see this.
Unfortunately, but I mean, I know what happens. So
Okay. So I love your input on this, and tell me if I'm getting anything wrong here, because it's been a minute since I've seen it. So I'm probably
and
missing.
and to be fair too, like, and I like the series. I think its rule system, it's one of those like hard magics, because you got hard magic, soft magic, right? Where like Lord of the Rings is soft magic. They don't explain how the magic works. It's just magic, and character choices make the plot work. Whereas this is one of those hard magic type stories where like there's a rigid set of rules and systems and technical specifications to how it works. And that drives the story forward. And I think sometimes it can be a little too much, or a little like over explainy, and just like it has so much exposition tied to how the mechanics are. And I'll say right now, even a super fan of the series like my friend Cal would say, like, this is like his favorite series right now. He would say this is his least favorite part. It just in that there is so much explaining of rules going on that it gets a little dragged down in that. But
Let's get into this. All right, so I have a review for the anime film, the Jujutsu Kaisen Execution. Jujutsu Kaisen Execution there is the latest film in the from the anime of Jujutsu Kaisen. There, this released a while ago. There, I'm just now getting to it. So this will be a kind of a quick review there. And for people who are fans of this, there, please forgive me if I don't remember a lot of stuff kind of went on here. It's been a minute since I've seen this movie there, but a lot of it, what it's doing with this movie, it's not like something like that hasn't been adapted before. This basically is condensing a lot of story from season two with the whole Shibuya arc there, with a lot of the demons taking over the area and basically planning a full out assault on it, and killing a bunch of civilians there. So they try to, and that consisted of what, like 20 episodes or about.
I think it was 18. I want to say, yeah, I think 18 episodes. But the other, and I mean, it really is a recap.
Yeah.
And even though I didn't see it myself, I've talked to people that did, and it seems like it's a recap to the point of, if you haven't seen those episodes in season two already, you wouldn't really be able to figure out what's going on. Like, it's jumping between so many things and going through it so quickly and skipping chunks, and it really is it is a recap in like the truest sense. Like, this is not a good alternative to just actually watching those 18 episodes.
And this is an hour and 28 minutes, so it's very short. So it tries to condense all that story of those episodes into this hour and 28 minutes. And then also it tries to tag on like, so another big thing about this is for season three, that has like early episodes for season three, like the first like one or two episodes of season
Yeah, I
three.
think it's the first two.
The first two of that. So that's also a big thing. So the first half of the movie, I would say, like, if I remember correctly, about maybe like 40 or so minutes is basically the recap. And then the rest of the runtime is the last episodes, the first two episodes of season three there. Which season three is coming out in a few days. They are
Yep.
premiering that. I would say you probably just, I mean, people have already seen it or not seen it already, so people have already made the decision. But I mean, I was in the theater, people were fans who seemed like they were fans because they were dressed up like the characters from it and everything like that. They had the makeup and everything of the characters and everything. And it seemed like they were kind of disappointed at least from
Yeah.
the chatter I was kind of hearing of people going like, that kind of seemed kind of a waste of time to sit through all this, to do this recap, and then to do like these additional 2 episodes. So if I'd reviewed this sooner, I would have said like, well, it seems like if you are a fan and you really did love Jujutsu Kaisen, maybe it'd be if you're that hyped to see the first 2 episodes of season 3, then maybe this would be for you. But I think other than that, not really. I think it's pretty disappointing as far as that. Even as someone who's seen season 2, coming into it, I didn't really remember much about season 2, but it did give me like, a refresher, like, oh, okay, this is what happened again. It made me remember a lot of it and jog my memory. Um, so it wasn't really that exciting seeing the stuff again, really. It's not like other anime movies we had come out last year, like Demon Slayer, where that's a movie and that's part of a whole thing to conclude that story. So that's something brand new. And then not like Chainsaw Man, which that's also an adaptation that's brand new that hasn't been adapted before. So you have that kind of going for it. So this doesn't have the same thing kind of going for it there with that. I will say the when they do the newer episodes there, when they do that, that is impressive, and a lot of the action scenes there, that is very good and very impressive as
I
well.
noticed in the little bits that I have seen of the animation, it feels because Mappa does Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen, and
Mhm.
in the little clips I've seen in like the preview footage, it does seem like that Chainsaw Man movie's kind of different updated animation style might be a little closer to what JJK season 3 has as well, and that also has like a kind of updated animation style. Because in the bits I've seen, it seems like it's maybe a little looser, maybe slightly less like highly detailed in like character models, but then that is allowing it to be much wilder in its action sequences.
Mm. Yeah. People, I think that got shown on Twitter, like the dude, like waving his hand through his hair there, and he's like beating the shit out of dude with one hand and all that type of stuff. So yeah, that kind of went viral for a little bit. Um, but yeah, I mean, so if like I said, you're already a kind of a fan of that, and you just weren't able to see it, but you were going to see it if you could, really there.
Yeah, I mean, and that would have just been for the 2 new episodes. Like, I don't care about the recap part as much. I think the problem is that it's too big a set of episodes to do a recap with. Like when season 3 of Attack on Titan was coming out back in 2018 or 2019 or exactly when that was. They had a recap movie of season 2, and that had the first episode of season 3 attached to the end of it. That recap worked well though, because season 2 of Attack on Titan is 12 episodes long, so a 2.5 hour like recap movie isn't actually cutting things out, and you're getting, even though it's maybe cutting out a couple little things, you're getting a coherent narrative presented to you in a whole. Even if you've already seen it, it is coherent and it feels complete. I think the problem here, and this is just me going based off of what you're saying, is you can't take something that's 18 episodes long and condense it into an hour and 20-minute movie. It's literally going to become an incoherent mess. You can't do that. It's just too much stuff to squish together into that. There earlier in 2025 in the summer, they did a recap movie of the first arc of season 2, the hidden inventory, when it's the flashback to Gojo and Geto when they're younger and they're in high school and they've got to protect the girl, right? That's supposed to be like the vessel. And that arc is only 5 episodes. So a movie recap of that works really, really well because you don't have to cut anything out. You just get to watch all of that flow as one continuous thing without like credits and cuts at the beginning and ends, right? So that works really well as a sort of recap movie. This seems like it just doesn't work because of the sheer length of it. That seems to be the biggest problem.
Mm. Yeah, it's sloppy and kind of like you said, it's too much of a mess.
Yeah.
Them trying to do all this together there, and like it's not they don't even really utilize all the hour because like I said, the other part of it is the 2 episodes. So really, it's like you got like 40 minutes
Right.
to try to do all these episodes really, and so it just kind of comes off as incoherent and kind of sloppy and kind of all over the place. And even somebody who has seen the season 2 is kind of like, okay, I mean, this doesn't really do much for me here.
And imagine going to see that if as someone who's like, well, I watched season 1 and I saw the movie. I haven't seen season 2, so there's a recap. Oh well, I guess I'll be okay to go see this then. And then just being lost and having no clue what's going on.
Yeah, it feels like a fever dream. You close your eyes, you wake up, you're in a whole other different part of something. Close your eyes, wake up again. It's like a whole other different area. It's like, what the hell is going on here? But it's yeah, recapping that, and then it seems like with season three, what they do is like they're setting up like so. There's going to be like trials that's going to go on, like a tournament or something. So they're going to have like a tournament arc. What is the name of that again? It's
So the Culling Games is the new one.
Calling Games. Okay,
Yeah.
and you've already read that in the manga, right?
Well, yeah, I kind of know what's going on already here. I couldn't tell you all the details of it, but like I
Because
said, like
they
what's that?
oh, I said they kind of flash. They do this quick as hell too. And there's a lot of text. They go like boom on the screen, boom on. I'm like, damn. Let me like they don't even give a good minute to at least read all the text of the rules and everything like that. I was like, okay.
Yeah, well, like I was saying, my friend Cal is like a super fan of JJK. That's like it's like his favorite anime, and he has said to me, hey, this next part here is kind of the worst part because there's just so many rules and they spend so much time explaining them. Now it sounds like they were speeding through it in the show, but like in the manga, it's like panels and panels and panels of them just explaining how the rules of this thing work. And it's a little like, all right, now you get past that and into the actual thing. So like what, 2 or 3 episodes in, I think that'll be fine once you get past that. But to get like as it's getting started, it does feel like it's like grind to a halt and do all of this, and then So I think that'll be interesting to see how that kind of goes over as in like the context of the whole thing. But it's definitely like it's a weird bit of pacing, especially because the Shibuya incident, which is the season 2 arc name, that's such a mile a minute. So much is happening, and then to for the very next arc to kind of grind to a halt and then have to explain all this stuff. That's a bit messy.
Mm, interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, we are going to review season three. We are going to do that. So we're going to do that. It'd be interesting to see how they work that out in the show. Like I said, there's supposed to be all these rules and everything like that, and so it'd be interesting how they handle that. Um, but yeah, I mean, this movie. I mean, it seems like I don't know if you've heard anything different. It seems like if you are a JJK fan, they're even kind of disappointed by this and think it's not worth checking out, not worth really seeing, really all that much.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's kind of the general consensus I've heard is that it's just it literally was just a kind of advertisement. Like it didn't feel as much like its own thing. Um, which again, I think it's the length of the story arc. I think it was just impossible to do something that tightened that into this brief thing. It's just not. It's literally not possible. I mean, you had, like you said, 40 minutes roughly to do that, and then 40 minutes to do the two new ones. I mean, since something that's 18 episodes long, that's 2 episodes worth of time. Like, it just seems impossible. So it's like if you're a super fan that just has to see a clip compilation in the theater, that's about what it's doing. I
yeah.
mean, and it really is literally what it is.
Yeah. So it's probably already online now, and people can watch it if you are interested, probably. So that I guess stream it for those people who are. But I mean, if you've already seen season two and season three is around the corner, then you really don't need to see this. So it's pretty much. I think I'd give it a skip it for that. Just skip it for JJK execution.
I
Yeah.
think that makes sense. And I mean, it's like you said, it's not even really like the show being bad. It's just like, well, you already got this, and I'm about to get the new part of this. So like, what's really? I don't know. It's just a fancy advertisement.
Mm, yeah. So those are my thoughts. JJK execution, Jujutsu Kaisen. All right. Real quick, talk about this dispatch. Then you got your Assassin's Creed Shadow. I'm eager to hear you talk about that. Um, and then we'll get into it. All right, people. So We're going to be discussing Dispatch. There, Dispatch is a game that came out last year. There, swept kind of people's interest there with this. Did win a couple awards as well there with this there. But yeah, this game kind of caught people's attention there. Really kind of went viral. What this game is all about is you're part of like a dispatch team there. It's described as like a superhero workplace comedy. You and Tim did a great review of it, which is up on the channel right now, youtube.com, the afternoon tune there. And you're playing a guy there, you're playing who's voiced by Aaron Paul. There's versing Robert, who was a former superhero. He was Mecha Man there. And then he takes the job at this dispatch center in order to help fund money so he can build a new suit there and fix up his old suit after getting destroyed in a fight. And it's just about you're just sending out all these various different heroes on all these missions there. While you also, it kind of reminds you of something like a Telltale game where you're also dialogue, you choose your own dialogue, goes off these different paths. I played it, you guys talked about it so highly. I've seen a lot of people talk about it very highly there. And I checked it out myself, and it's almost kind of like you're playing like an superhero TV show. Like you're playing something like you would watch on Amazon or something like the Amazon Prime.
And it
I
feels
was,
like it could take place in the Invincible universe, practically.
yeah, it feels like something that would be kind of a thing there that Cecil would kind of do there to send people out on different missions. Just as long as they're not Viltrumites, then
Right.
then they should be all right.
I
But
think
yeah,
that what the big difference is, this I think maintains an air of like kind of optimism and like maybe old school superhero like morality for the main character versus something like Invincible, and I think it's a little more morally gray, like The Boys,
yeah. And it was fun. I played this multiple times. As soon as I beat it, I played it again just to see like what are all the different options I can get, what are all the choices I can make, everything like that. And I was kind of fascinated by that. How many times have you played it since you first played it?
I've only done one full run, and then I've skipped around with save points and kind of checked out some other stuff, and I've watched other people play it, and so I've seen a lot of the other kind of pathways just through experiencing like other people checking it out. But there is some fun differences. I mean, there's some cool stuff. It's similar to the Telltale stuff, like yeah, Walking Dead or Wolf Among Us, in that like you are going to ultimately end up in the same in a pretty general place, kind of, like that. You can't go like so wildly in different directions, but I think they do a good job of honestly having more sort of pathways than those games did, whereas those games really would kind of give you the illusion of choice and then hammer you into one thing at the end.
Yeah.
And I think those stories would be great, but they just weren't as dynamic and changeable as maybe they presented themselves to be. They'd still be very good in individual narratives, but I actually do think this one does achieve a greater sense of like, oh, this could go in a different direction, or this could play out differently. I think maybe the best of that type so far.
Mm, yeah. And a lot of the big decision was like Invisigal or Blonde
There was a
Blazer.
lot of that.
Like, oh, man, it's these tough choices, man. Like, what am I gonna do, man? And my first run of the game, I didn't end up with anybody. So my first run, it was Invisigal turned evil, and she ended up killing the main bad guy of the story. What was his name again? It was
Shroud.
Shroud, who's like the main antagonist of the game, who's hunting you down, who's the heroes there. And so she ended up killing him and then turning evil. Didn't end up with Blonde Blazer because I was so aggressively pursuing Invisigal. I don't know what that says about me, but there you go. And that kind of what
Glutton
happened
for
there.
punishment,
Yeah. And so I had that kind of going on. What did your first run through? What was that like for you?
I messed around with both of them. I got like you would like only 7% of players messed around with both or something like that. so I got
Hmm.
I got a fun statistic on that one. But there's a lot of just smaller like, who are you going to cut from the team in episode 2? Who kind of, how does that, or maybe is that 2 or 3? I forget now. But then each of those characters can have like a sort of mini story where they can have a redemption arc at the end too. And then who do you add to the team between Waterboy and Phenomenon, and those play out. That adds like a pretty different subplot depending on which one you go with. And then so like my playthrough, I think because I went and looked, I think I got like the like uh, the best possible outcome basically at the end.
Yeah.
Pretty
And
sure.
so that's more of the negative outcomes. The best outcome I think is like, okay, so Invisigal doesn't turn evil. You
Yep.
don't kill Shroud. I
Yep.
think you have the option to kill him though, because it's all
You have
about
the option, but if you stick to like kind of a classic superhero morality, I feel like you kind of have to not kill him.
yeah.
But yeah, but I think the kill him statistic was pretty high. So most people do not have the old school superhero morality in them.
Yeah. And yeah, the thing about the game is so after you're done with the missions, and there's 8 episodes
Yep.
of this. So it's like is like kind of like one of like a superhero show, you know, like that, where it's like 8
And
episodes.
they did release them 2 a week, so I mean, it did feel like you were coming back. This game actually achieved that water cooler conversation type effect more than most TV shows do now.
Yeah, that was a good thing about it too. And then so I they so at the end when you do the missions, they show like it compare you to other players, like you said, like you and 7% of the people that play this game had this choice. I was kind of stunned at how many people like fist bumped the dude in the bathroom, like
I was
how
surprised
low.
by that too. I was
Yeah,
also, yeah, because I was playing it with my girlfriend, and she was like, "I just fist bump him. He seems nice." And I was like, so I did
yeah,
it, and I got that bigger statistic just because of that. But I was just listen. I just kind of was like, "All right, fine," because you said it, I'll do it. But my instinct was definitely to be like, "No, what don't
yeah.
touch me."
And then also there was another one where a bad guy's knocked out with his junk out, and then it was, do you want to put his junk away or not? Oh wait, did you freeze there? I think you froze
Oh,
there. Um, Sage, you good? You with me? Hold on just a minute. Uh, am I still good? Oh, I think he's. I wonder if he's out right now. Hold on. Uh, Let me message him here. Oh, there you go. Are you
back?
okay? Yeah, you're
Okay,
back. Yeah, I don't
okay.
know what happened there.
I
Um,
can still hear you the whole time.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there was an option where like Goon gets knocked out, and it's like his junk is out, and it's like, okay, do you want to put his junk away? Yes. And then the people who did end up doing that was like I ended up not doing it. And Invisigal did it, and it was such a low percentage. I imagine it'd be way higher. I was like
Yeah.
50% of something people didn't chose not to do it. That surprised me as well. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, that was kind of just a weird thing, but so it seems like that's the most positive outcome you can get is that you don't kill him, she doesn't turn evil, and then Invisigal kisses you at the end, I
Yeah.
think. Or yeah,
There's a kiss you could have with either option that there's
yeah,
a good ending either way. But yeah, I think the best ending is yeah. There's that. Yeah, Shroud's alive. Which whether you cut Sonar or Coop, whichever one you cut, if you get the best ending as the police are have them in handcuffs and they're hauling them away, you have the opportunity to be like, hey, they're with us. Uh, don't and you so you can kind of have them let go and let them kind of come back and join in at the very end there. So
yeah,
yeah, the best possible ending is like basically everything works out really well for everybody.
yeah.
Which hey, why not?
And who did you cut initially in your first run?
I got Coop. 'Cause I
Okay.
thought Sonar was I just thought Sonar was funnier.
Mm.
So I was like,
I
I want
cut,
to keep that dude around because he makes me laugh.
yeah, I cut Sonar there, and Sonar's voice is a character voiced by Moist Critical. There who's a YouTuber. I think his real name is I think like Charles White or something like that. I think his real name is. And he plays a guy that's a man bat who graduated from Harvard.
Yeah, he's like a crypto tech bro, but also man bat.
Yeah. I will say so I had the one option where I cut Coop initial I mean I cut Sonar in my first run, but I will say in my second run I did the opposite and I cut Coop instead of Sonar. Sonar I think is more useful maybe down the line, I would say. Because he's usually they have these stats. So a lot of these characters have stats. They're usually, intelligence and charisma and what was the other ones? Fortitude or strength.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like 5 or 6, I think, stats.
Yeah, so you can choose like it in how you like level them up on the missions you complete kind of helps you later down the line of like, will this person be able to accomplish this mission based on the kind of the stats that they have and the missions that they're selected for.
And you even
Um,
get types where somebody can be too good, and it will like cross over with like an X on that map, and it'll auto fail because it's like they're too good at one particular thing and not at something else. So you can even fail for that reason in the late game.
Yeah. And you can choose how many, because I think you can send out max 4 at a time, right? Like 4 or 5 at a time you can send out on a mission. And so you can choose whether or not on a mission to send out that many. And then the more people you send out, the higher the chance the mission will be successful.
Yep.
So it depends on that. But you have to be cautious to do that because there's another mission that's come along the line that you may need this other person for to
Yeah.
help you. So it's always this game of like, do I want to send this person out and playing this kind of strategic game? Did you kind of find you doing a lot of that playing?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, they also all have like like kind of special powers that they unlock as you get stuff. So like, um, I'm forgetting your name now, but with the pink and blue hair,
Oh,
the light powers.
Jesus, geez, I'm blanking on it now. I'm trying to look at. I'll look it up real quick here.
So like like everybody's got these powers, and like hers, she can create like a
Prism.
second prism. Thank you. She can create like a second version of herself when you if you get her stats up the right way. So then you send her on say a mission that you could send 3 people, but you send just her, and she autofills a second slot because she can create like that copy of herself. So there's all these other ways in which they can sort of affect and like unique powers and matching up the right 2 of them together, and there's all sorts of cool combinations. I think you honestly only really start to get a feel for just how complex this part of the game can get kind of in the last episode. And there's other people have said it, but I kind of wish they'd release like an infinite mode where it's like not plot based, but it's just let me just do the dispatching game like as like an infinite how long can you go type thing. Just
Mm,
because I feel like that gameplay can get more, and like you could do more and have that much more fun with it if they just gave you longer periods of time to mess with it. I feel like there's more there that hasn't been tapped yet.
yeah, and there's potential. They talked about they are gonna. This was a huge hit, so they are gonna possibly do another season or dispatch 2 of it. They have talked about that. And with when you're doing the whole dispatching thing there, when you do it, and then there's also these cutscenes, and you can either choose whether or not to do like quick time events with them or just kind of set the controller down and just kind of watch it like a TV show when you're not doing the whole dispatching thing.
Yep.
I found that kind of awkward because they'll still keep the quick time event in there. You just don't press anything. So
Yeah, that's weird. If
it's
you're gonna
very
get rid of it, get rid of the visual cue too.
Yeah, so it's very awkward because, like, you're doing the cutscene and then, like, you have to like, a moment where you would have to press X, it's just him winding up all the way up and then, okay, then I punch so it just looks kinda weird
Mm.
where when you actually don't have so it's like, "Oh, okay, I'll just put it back on then," in that case. I don't think when you miss one of them, I don't think it really does all that too much to the story or to the
It
scene.
can in the last episode, but I don't know if it can really before that.
Yeah, so I didn't really mess around with that too much with it. Um, so you did have that. And another big choice in the game was like, who were you going to cut in Visigal or not? And you, in your first playthrough, you ultimately chose to keep her, right?
Yeah, I think you have to get the good ending. Actually,
Yeah. I mean, you got to really do everything you can nice wise. I mean, you got to talk to her so nice to get a good ending. Like Jesus Christ.
just
So
like
my
in real life. I mean,
yeah,
that's
I
what
mean,
relationships are like.
you know. So I ended up cutting her because I was like, team dynamic. She did fuck up really bad because the reason you have to choose to cut her is because she goes like solo mission when she tries to
Yeah.
get something and everything. So I was like, I don't know. I think that's kind of bad and everything. So I ended up cutting her for that. I do regret at the end of the game. So I did have the option to because I initially, like I said, cut Sonar, so he turns to a bad guy. I don't think I should have let him go to prison instead of bringing him back because I'm like, he did eat a lot of people. So I was like, okay, well, I should have probably just kept him in prison. That's kind of fucked up. Like Coop, when she turns evil, it doesn't seem like she kills anybody. So I was like, okay, that would have probably been a better option.
She might have still in just like the crime spree that's going on at the end, but she certainly was not eating them or like biting
Yeah.
their heads off. So it's a little different.
So it seemed like a little worse with him. So I don't think I should have done that. Do you? I think I asked you before. Did you regret any decision there making it or?
I don't think so. Like, 'cause, I mean, I kind of got like the best ending on my first try, and I felt pretty satisfied with it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's what kind of keeps it into it of like, I guess the relationship and, these different dynamics, are you or are you not who you're gonna end up with, maybe doing it, playing it multiple times, like I said, to get all these different stories there. This person had a great outlook on it, and what they kind of saw from people there playing the game.
I have the most woman take of all time. Dispatch is great. And if anyone says that I think it's bad, you need to check your hearing because I just glazed it for about 10 minutes. The main character kind of feels like placeholder for lonely dudes in their heads. All the responses are perfect and he's super funny all the time. And then two of the hottest girls are fawning over this guy the entire time.
I would say I think if they do a season 2, give me the option for Malova.
Oh yeah.
Give me, I kind of was like, give me the more option for that.
I'm sorry. No girl is ever going to come up to you and tell you that she had a dream about doing it with you. This game, ready for it? Ready? This game is Twilight for dudes! It's Twilight for guys, man! Main character is Bella. Blonde Blazer and Invisigal are Jacob and Edward. It literally is, man!
What do you think, man?
Anyway.
I think that's funny. I think it's totally a fair comment to make. But I will say I still think that there is a big gulf difference of in one characters have personality and in one of these things they don't.
Do you think it's a little true about the male character? He's a little like OP'd. He's a little like, oh, he's so smart and funny, and
I think I think that's there, but I also think it's not unlike sort of just a lot of classic superhero archetypes in general. Like you look at Peter Parker in like the old school comics, like with between Gwen and Mary Jane and Betty Brant and Liz Allen, like he's kind of a ladies' man, even though he's like supposed to be somewhat of a nerd outcast, especially at the beginning of like the very original run of comics. I think it feels a little bit like that comic book stuff, but I mean, again, I think the comparison is fair to make. I totally get it. I just think clearly then men's romantic fantasies still demand better writing than women's. if we're going with that, it's there. It's there. The comparison is there to be made. But I think it also is telling you like, one of them's still a lot better written than the other.
I don't know. You have a girlfriend? I don't know. Did she make any comparisons like that? Like it's
No,
Twilight is okay.
no, she didn't.
Oh, okay. She's not a big Twilight guy. She wasn't Team Jacob, Team Edward.
I at the time those were coming out, she might have been, but I didn't know her back then, and that was like 16 years ago. So I don't have a good read of her opinion on that, to be honest.
Okay. Well, ask her tonight, man. Team Edward or Team Jacob? Let's see how she responds. But that bring back some old memories there. Yeah. So I mean, I will say, bring about the dialogue. Great dialogue. I was laughing. I thought it was really snappy.
There's a difference between this and Twilight.
Yeah, I've never seen Twilight, so I can't comment on it too much.
We should definitely do a roast for the first one.
Okay, a roast. So not even a good review, a roast, huh? That's how much you feel badly about it.
The thing is I honestly, I actually kind of like that movie in it's so bad it's good way, because it is so bad it's hilarious. Like the way, I'm telling you, man, Robert Pattinson is like on screen actively sabotaging the movie as it's going because he thinks it's terrible too.
Yeah. I mean, I do think this movie it gave us Robert Pattinson, man, and it helped. And he's a great actor.
It gave him the money to kind of be as picky and choosy as he has been with the rest of his career. So if there's one good thing that came, but I'm telling you, great comedy film. Like throw this on after like Nicolas Cage's The Wicker Man, and that's like a legit double feature.
Yeah. I will say, from what I know, Kristen Stewart doesn't really seem to have that much of a personality. So it seems like why are these dudes that interested? At least with Mecha Man Robert, it seems like he actually has a personality. He
Yeah.
is confident. So it's kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, it is still crazy. I mean, like you said, two of the hottest women are into him a little bit. That's a little like male fantasy stuff. But
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is. It is.
you know, he is very confident, so you kind of get it a little
And
bit.
I mean, I think the thing for me is, this is not everybody. I certainly have talked to many people that have like the opposite view of me on this. But when it comes to stories in general, any kind of story, whether it's a game, a film, a book, I do not look to relate directly to like the main character or to the characters. I look to go see a story about someone that is not me or that is not like me because I want to see like the different perspectives as much as possible. It's one reason I like, say, serial killer stories because I find their perspective so alien to mine that it's
Oh,
interesting to go and see that story. So,
I thought you
you
were gonna
know,
go somewhere else with that, but okay, yeah, good you ended up there.
but so for something like this where it's meant to be like a like, oh, this character is super charming, I don't see myself as this character. I see this character as its own person that I get to hang out with for a little while. And I think that's the difference between this and Twilight a little bit, is that like I think you go to this and yeah, there's some of that fantasy aspect of it, but I do think that you're going there to see the character that you're playing as and not to just see yourself as that character. And I think with Twilight, the character is completely personalityless because it is just there for people to implement themselves onto that character. They're not interested in seeing a character play out a story. They just want to be the character or like pretend they are that character. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, people have talked about this before. I won't get too much of a sidetrack, but just like um, the superhero kind of fantasy. What's the term for it that people use?
Or you
Uh,
thinking like there's Mary Sue and Gary Stew?
no, like when people like what you just said, like people implant they
Oh,
superhero worship.
like a self insert.
Yeah, kinda like that. I'm trying to think of the exact word for it, but, like, when people yeah, like, superhero worship and things like that of having these kinda characters and, it's seeing like, thinking you are this kinda person or and, like, having to have to see yourself in this person, everything like that. I don't worry about that too much in kinda media. I'm just looking for a good character and everything like that, and just trying to see somebody good. I mean, like I said, there's terrible people in movies I follow. Like I just saw Uncut Gems. I rewatched that. Laughed my ass off with that because I was like, man, at least I'm not that guy.
Right.
That guy is fucked up. So there's stuff like that. But
There's only
yeah,
one time in all of media that I've ever related to a character in that, like, oh wow, I feel like that's me. So that's only ever happened once.
what was that character?
Abed in Community.
Oh, Abed in Community. Oh
I,
yeah, yeah.
I felt like I was like, oh yeah, no, they put me on a TV show.
Yeah. Did you have any Chevy Chase chasing you around saying
No,
slurs?
no, never had that. Fortunately,
Okay. But yeah, I mean, this game, I think it's a wonderful game. I mean, I like it quite a bit. I can't wait to see what they do with season two if they do that. What would you want most from a season two if they do that?
I think what I would want most would be to not feel like a sort of here's how this starts or here's how this goes no matter what you picked in the first season. Like I because I think that's the trouble anytime a game like this has a sequel, like The Walking Dead one. Those were always designed in a way it's like you could get some kind of different stuff happening at like the ending of Walking Dead season 2. You had a wildly different ending depending on some choices, but then when they did The Walking Dead season 3, it was kind of started in a way where it kind of sidestepped that choice and had like, well, either way, the person you went with at the end of season 2, well, they died off screen before season 3, so you're in the same starting place no matter what you went with. I would like to see one of these types of games finally have a season 2 where different players have completely different episode ones from each other. I think that is the thing that I would like to see.
Yeah, I hope they do that because there's some major decisions that happen. Like if Invisible turns evil in your playthrough, and then all of a sudden she shows up, and then season two
Right.
she's good. It's like, well, what the fuck? That meant nothing in the thing before. And obviously, how expansive can you be with this? Because it's like if you try to do all these different branching stories and
it could buckle under its own weight.
yeah, that could take forever, and you know what I mean, the creators and everything like that. So you have to have a strict kind of rigid line, but still, if you do all these different branches, they could just take forever with that. So, but I really greatly enjoyed playing this. It's one of the most fun I've had playing a game in a long time. I loved it that much. And I think the only thing I didn't like about it was it's kind of like these cyber missions that you do.
The hacking mini game is kind of weak. Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of like what you did in Spider-Man. I was getting Spider-Man flashbacks. I'm like, oh shit, not these again. They weren't too bad, but it was a lot of that. I mean, was that kind of one of the weaker?
No, I agree. I totally agree. I thought that was it just they're not dynamic enough. Like they've only got a couple rules to them, and then I don't know. They're just not that interesting to do.
Yeah,
they're fine, but
yeah, the dispatch that felt fine. That didn't feel repetitive at all because it's always like these different missions that these go on, and
like I said, I want more of it. I want like an endless mode.
Yeah, like that's cool. Or like, yeah, like you said, like if they did like a how high can you score doing the missions or something like that, that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, the hacking stuff was kind of like, yeah, it's fine. It's all right. Kind of the weakest part. So yeah, I'd give it a high peak for me for Dispatch there. Yeah. And you got a review, and we'll close out with this one. Man, can't wait to hear it. So Assassin's Creed Shadows, they have a new DLC that came out there, but this time it's a DLC revolving around Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan, which is Sage's favorite anime of all time there. And he already did a review for Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is on the channel right now. People can check it out.
2 different ones even when the game came out, and a sort of check-in after the kind of big final ending DLC released.
Yes. So let us know, man. What about this Attack on Titan Assassin's Creed Shadows DLC?
Well, I'm not going to mince any words. Fuck you, Ubisoft. This is garbage. I'm sorry. This is AI trash. This is a free update too. It's not even like DLC you have to pay for. But this, oh my god, it's just a new thing pops up on the map. You go over there, and immediately this is wrong. I mean, one, obviously this. First of all, it's like a whole alternate universe. There's not like a modern day Japan, or not modern, but any time period, real Japan that you could go to in this universe in Attack on Titan in the first place. So one, it's weird to try and place this total fantasy world into a setting, but you know what? That in and of itself isn't necessarily the biggest deal. But then once you start reading like the little letters that they have for this and then like interacting with these characters, you very quickly come to realize that they asked an AI to tell them what Attack on Titan was. There is terms like Titan Shifter, which is a fan-made thing that is not in the series, that does not come up in the show. No one ever says it. They do not refer to anything as that. They are using terms like that, fan-made terms, as like in the documents and like in the dialogue, like actual classification for these things. There's not a character from the series in here, right? They just kind of make up some names and throw them around. You don't even see this person who's supposed to be a Titan getting sacrificed to a mindless one. You don't even see them turn into one. You don't even fight a Titan in this. You literally just go underground in a cave, do some platforming, find this guy, and then run out of the cave with the Titan chasing you for a minute or two. And you just have to get away from it. You get up outside. That's it. There's very little to this. Like gameplay wise, there's not a lot going on. And it looks like trash. I'm telling you, the entire script for this is absolutely AI generated. Like there is no way a human being wrote this. No way at all. It doesn't make sense. I mean, for how awkward and stiff the dialogue and story can already be in the main game, this is just 10 times worse. These characters barely feel like they're even speaking to each other. It feels completely unnatural. The reactions to what's going on feel unnatural. Yasuke screaming at the Titan and the Titan scream, like none of this feel. Again, this is like somebody at the office asked ChatGPT, "What's Attack on Titan?" And then they were like, "Can you write me like a 30-minute like script of missions so that we can do this?" And that's all the effort that was put into this.
Mm. And that Titan does look pretty bad there, and like this is the end where you're just running away from the
That's all it
Titan.
is.
Okay, and you don't even see the Titan eat anybody, right?
No, not really.
Okay, so they just kind of smash people, or they smash them? Anybody?
I think if you let it catch up to you, I think it like smashes you, but that's it.
Okay.
Which is
And
not
then
what they do.
who they have any type of collaboration with the people that make Attack on Titan? Any like
I mean,
the studio?
they got the license. I guess they must have paid for like the licensing fee. But I mean, I don't. It doesn't seem like anyone that would have ever worked on the actual series had anything to do with this. I think they just paid a fee to get the license, and then they just chat GPT'd this crap out.
Wow. I mean, is this, and you said this was so bad, so it even kind of brings down the score of the game you initially had for it.
It absolutely does, because this to me is the influx of just AI slop into Ubisoft's game studios in general, and they've said they have integrated AI into every studio in the company, and that's how I know that this is that's how I know for sure that's what this was.
Mm. Damn. Okay. Is this the worst DLC you ever played? Can you say that?
Because of the AI part of it, yes.
Mm. And Ubisoft says that's their future. AI is their future. They're going to incorporate AI.
I think a lot of these AAA companies are doing it. Microsoft last year, like in the summer, had said that like 30% of the code at their company was now being AI written. They've put billions of dollars into it, which is part of the reason they have had so many layoffs in the last year too, like 10,000 plus. Ubisoft is all on that train. EA is thinking about it. Plus, they're getting that Saudi royal investment money as well, so that's going to have a big effect on that company. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of these big AAA corporations are going all in on the AI stuff, and a lot of them are already the companies that people are really dissatisfied with pre any AI involvement, So, I don't know how that's going to go. There might be some sort of casual audience that really isn't in an online conversation that might pick these games up. Obviously, Assassin's Creed Shadows did sell very well. It did very well for the company. But I think anybody that like really pays attention to the stuff is like not going to touch Ubisoft games from now on.
Mm. So you think, yeah, a lot of people are just going to boycott Ubisoft because of all the AI
Yeah,
implementation?
not everybody. There will be people that won't care. But I think especially if like the game, if this is a sign, this DLC expansion, whatever, is a sign of the quality to come with their other stuff. Oh boy, I think more and more people are going to be dropping off.
Okay, interesting. What's the next game on the horizon for Ubisoft?
God, they haven't even officially announced it yet, but it's leaked like 10,000 times, so we know they're doing it. But there's going to be a remake of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which at one point I was like, oh, that actually could be cool. I actually would maybe be interested in that. But now that they've got so much AI stuff going on in all their studios, I don't trust them not to have put a lot of that into that remake. So I don't really trust it. I don't know, because I mean, like, they announced that Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake that was supposed to have been out 2-3 years ago already, and then everybody clowned on it, so they restarted development. That probably has AI involved in it now too, which is disappointing because I would have been interested in that as well. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's hard to trust anything coming out of them, and I'm not sure what their actual next big release is, because the things that I'm hearing about, at least that I do have even a passing interest in, have gotten delayed like so many times that we don't even know when they're coming out.
So it says here Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Mobile.
Wow,
uh,
great. That's gonna get it back. That's gonna get everybody to come back.
so this is said was released February 23rd, 2026. Then there's another game called Anno 117 Pax Romania.
That's like
Uh,
that like super zoomed out, see like the map of the country, like hyper technical, like management strategy simulation type stuff.
okay, and then I see here, and this is AI overview there. I guess a quick little look at it. I guess. So it's Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake, major title slated to release in 2026, potentially January to boost quarter 4 sales, according to insider reports. So you see, this got delayed. So you're saying this got delayed?
Yeah, I don't even know where that information is coming from because I don't think there was ever like a sign of it coming out in January of 2026.
Yeah.
I don't think that ever happened.
Some other stuff rumored and potentially and in development titles. Assassin's Creed, you mentioned that there. It says rumors point to witch hunt themes, Invictus, maybe multiplayer, something like that.
See, that's the AI is mixing all this stuff together. There's a Assassin's Creed Hexe, which is an officially
Hexa, yeah.
announced game that is going to be, I think, like European witch hunt time period, and it'll be like a bit of a darker game. And then Invictus is I don't know if that'll be its final title or if it's just a project code name, but that is supposed to be like a big Assassin's Creed multiplayer game.
Okay, yeah. Then you got Far Cry. The next main installment is Project Blackbird, a multiplayer extraction game. Project Maverick are anticipated. Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell remake, Beyond Good and Evil 2. That I heard about Beyond.
That's not ever coming out, dude.
I think didn't we hear about that in like fucking like 2010 or is it 2010 or
Yeah,
2009?
yeah. And they're saying, oh, it's not canceled, but it hasn't come out either.
That shit been in development. Shit, man. Yeah, okay. So yeah. Still in development. Fans await news on the sequel.
At
Okay.
least a full decade for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So those are some upcoming Ubisoft tales. So what would you give? Did you give a rating for Assassin's Creed Shadows?
Well, for the game
DLC?
before, I had, as a whole, I gave the game, I think just like a tune in or like a low tune in, just because of, there were bright spots in it, but like man, this DLC is so bad that like I would go all the way down to a skip it now for like if you hadn't already played it, don't even bother now because clearly they're just injecting AI slop into it.
Hmm.
Like I would say don't even bother.
Yeah. Wow. So you probably would give this probably waste of fucking game
Yes.
here.
Yes.
And then
Absolutely.
and that lowers the score down from your low tune in of Assassin's Creed Shadows to a skip it. Hmm, okay. Wow. Yeah. So that was Sage's review there of the Assassin's Creed Shadows Attack on Titan collab there. There you go.
Absolute trash.
Wow. Is there any other game you want to see maybe, Attack on Titan collab with? That'd be better.
Hmm. I don't as like a collab. Not really.
Black
I
Ops?
mean, no. Well, they've done that already, so that's the thing.
Really? They've done that already?
Oh, yeah, Google it. You'll find pictures.
Let's see. Call of Duty Black Ops Attack on Titan. Let me see this. Is that what that dude was in Black Ops 7? That big thing they were fighting? Is that what?
No, that was Skibbity Toilet.
Oh, Skibbity Toilet. Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so is this it right here? Let me see. Oh, okay. So it's like a skin. Okay, it could be like a skin.
Character skins and weapon skins. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There's like a guy. There's like an armored Titan guy walking around too. That looks super weird. At least the that is like one thing because it's a human uniform. But like if you let it keep going, there's an armored Titan one where like that looks like especially strange. That's like a skin for just a human character. I don't know. I don't really see it as like a good crossover type property. I like if you're gonna make a video game Attack on Titan thing, I think I want a video game that's just about being that from the ground up that you could dedicate to doing that in an interesting way. But other than that, I really wouldn't want anything else.
Okay, and this is the armored Titan right here. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, actually, okay, I take it back. I did think of one thing.
What is that?
Put the Colossal Titan in Gigabash.
Oh, it's Colossal. Okay, put it in there. Okay.
But that would be great. That would be really great.
Okay, that's an idea. Put that out there. They're still doing updates for that game a little bit.
Yeah, oh yeah. Just just recently they dropped to the Gamera DLC. So now, for the first time ever, Godzilla, Ultraman, and Gamera are all in one thing together. That's literally never happened. Not in movies, not in anything. So that's like a huge kind of pop culture moment for Japan to have a game that has all three of those properties together. They've already announced, the next DLC pack coming out like late Q1 of 2026. We don't know if it'll be like another set of Godzilla monsters or something else entirely. But yeah, this game came out in 2022, and this Gamera was the 7th round of DLC for this. They're just dedicated to continuing to add stuff to this one game, and I think it's great. It is literally the Super Smash Brothers of the kaiju genre, and I say keep going. Get the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters in there. Get me an Attack on Titan. Just any kaiju thing you can think of. Like, just let's keep going.
50-foot woman in there. 50-foot woman.
You know what I keep saying I want Charles Barkley from the Godzilla commercial, from the Nike commercial. Give me a playable Charles Barkley.
That'd be cool too. Okay, get him in there. Yeah, that's good ideas. Yeah. All right. So that was Sage's thoughts on Assassin's Creed Shadows DLC. We'll be heading out of here. Thank you so much, Sage. Stick with me on this long night.
Happy to do it.
I see somebody on. I can raid right now. I got Parapood on right now. She's doing some just chatting. I'll be back Wednesday. I'll be doing a best of, worst of 2025. 2025 is over, so doing that, wrapping that up. Doing movies for now. Gonna do shows later. I'll
put my list together. I don't have enough of any one thing, but I could do like I did last year, where I could just do like a combo list that kind of includes various different types of media.
I would love to see that. Games, anime, TV shows, movies, music. I don't know. You got some music there? Want to throw in there?
I don't think I have anything for music, unfortunately.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to hear that. Maybe do that next Monday. Next Monday, if you can join me, it'd be awesome if you could. No show this Friday. Gotta get some work thing going on. But got that going on. But when we return Friday, be doing Primate. Is this thing still on? 28 years later, the Bone Temple, the Plague, Greenland 2. Those will all be up on the docket.
Awesome.
Very awesome there. I'll be sending you all over to her. Sage, one more time, let people know what you got going on, what you can find. People can find you, all that good stuff.
You can find me over at Rated M for Immaturity on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all under that exact same name. Come hang out with us. We're just a bunch of foul-mouthed guys playing games, not taking it very seriously. Any conversation topic, lots of chat interaction. Right now we're playing Doom the Dark Ages. We're just about done with that. We'll be swapping over to Indiana Jones, playing that DLC, Order of Giants. And then not quite sure yet what'll be after that, but that's about the next month ahead. It's a good time, just having fun. And then if you'd like, you can also go and support my first book, Red Age. Metaphysical, science, fantasy, paleo satire, war epic. Definitely, I could promise you it's not like anything you've ever read before. I can promise that. You can find this on Amazon, digital, physical copies. Either way, Josh, you'll be getting yours sent it out today. You should be getting it by the end of the week.
Very nice.
But yeah.
You think you'd be like Carol and ask the hive mind, so how was my book? What did people think of my book? You think?
I'd ask, yeah. I will not be offended by anybody not liking it. Like you could if it sucks and it's like a room situation, tell me, because I could make money that way.
Okay. Well, all right, people. Stay tuned. Out of here. Take care.